In the spot, bringing stats like a kingpin. MMA knowledge meets his nephews all lean in. Breaking down fights, codes that daddy supreme on. Just a tip show, he's cooking up a dream. Uncle Weezy, he the man. Dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand. MMA guru, more than just a fan. Wanna know the numbers? Weezy got them cataloged. From the fighters reach down to how many times they dog. Just a tip living, breaking it down slick. Hit you with the knowledge, won't miss a single trick. Uncle Weezy, he a man. Dropping fight facts, got it all on hand. He the stat attack grand. MMA guru, more than just a fan. Balls, deep predictions, he be making those calls. Getting in the details, opponents feeling small. From jazz to takedowns, got the whole fight ID. Uncle Weezy spitting truth, no lie, keep it G. Blow the horn, blow the horn. Stat Daddy Weezy not showing no scorn. Fight night kingdom, he wearing the crown. Break it down for the peeps, never looking like a clown.
Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday afternoon, and we are about to go live for Probability. This is the show that I do for my Odd Shopper subscribers every week, where we go through my betting models, we kind of match them up with the stylistic reads on the fights, and we talk about the best plus money EV spots, plus EV spots of the week so that we can make good bets on a week-by-week basis. And we go through fight by fight in the fight write-ups, which are linked in the description of this video, in the stat package, which is linked in the description of this video. You can kind of follow along with the show and look at my models and look at the lines, look at the divisional benchmarks, look at each fighter's performances in their wins and in their opponent's losses, how many come by knockout, how many come by submission, how many come by decision, and kind of just get some number bases for where these things should be priced and determine what's overpriced and underpriced based on which way the market is leaning, which way the market sees the fight going. And sometimes the market's of one mind and they don't get it right, which means that provides value on some of the other props, on some of the other money lines, where if the market is wrong on their stylistic read on the fight, you can profit pretty big from it by betting underpriced bets. So what we do every week here is what you're going to see here for free on YouTube today. If you want to become a part of the group that we have here on the Discord, the group that we have on Odd Shopper's Probability Stats and Content Package, there's a link in the description of this video. Still a couple of spots left for 50% off your first month's membership. At $25 a month, you'll only pay $12.50 for your first month. And you're going to get access to all of my betting models, everything that's in my stats package, the access to the Discord, access to my track bets, access to all the fight write-ups and the subscriber-only content. You get about 4 hours of that for every single card of the year. So putting this out for free on YouTube this week. I'd like it if some of you guys joined up with the community and became a part of it. And we're going to be looking to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for the rest of 2026 and beyond here on all these UFC fights. And there's going to be a ton of them. The Paramount era means very few weeks off going forward. So you're going to get the most out of your subscription if you sign up now and get access to all the stats and analytics that I'm going to be providing for you guys every single week. So what's up to everybody in the chat? We're going to be talking about these fights, going through them one by one. I will be sharing my screen with you. And also in these fight write-ups, you see the document tabs to the left here. The one all the way on the bottom is the probability show notes. And then everything below the probability show notes, which there's nothing there right now, are going to be my bet write-ups. So every bet that I make, there will be a paragraph about why I'm betting it, a link to the individual fight write-up so you can see what I wrote and decide whether you want to tail that bet or not. But we're going to go through fight by fight here, and we're going to fill in our favorite plus EV bets on this probability show notes tab. So you can always go back to that and look and see what we talked about here on this show. And yeah, we're going to start with the first fight of the night, which is going to be Luke Fernandez versus Rodolfo Bellato. We got Luke Fernandez is sitting at minus 225 right now. Fernandez is still minus 225 plus 190. The fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. Is sitting at around minus 400, I believe. Yes, minus 400 for fight doesn't go to decision. So obviously the market is expecting violence, and as a result of that, we're definitely seeing some juiced up finish props for this fight. The stats package, which is linked in the description of this video, has all of the betting models that we're going to be discussing today. Over-under model is, I'm just going to explain this real quick to you guys. This model here has the betting lines in row 5, the implied probability of those betting lines in row 7. So that implied probability row is essentially the price of the line. And then we compare the price of the line to the divisional benchmarks, which are held here in row 10. And we also combine them, or we compare them to the combined performance of both fighters. And you're going to see in rows 15 and 16 how many times Luke Fernandez at the UFC level, his fights have finished inside the distance, how many times he's went under 2.5 rounds, how many times his fights haven't started round 3. And you see that for both fighters, and we get the combined percentile here in row 17. And now we can compare this row to this row to this row, and this row to this row to kind of, and we get those lines here in 12, 18, and 19. And if we're getting a number that's positive, it means that we're underpaying based on that particular comparison. So the ones where we're underpaying, we're going to be looking at them in, and I see I've got a wrong line in this betting template here, but we're going to be indicating in red when something is overpriced, and we're going to be indicating in green when something is underpriced. So let me change the fight. Doesn't start round 3 here for this Luke Fernandez fight. Where is that? That is minus 205. And then also in the betting template, it's basically the same idea here. We have the betting lines up here, the implied probabilities of those betting lines right next to it. And then we've got the implied probability of the props here in row 11. We've got the divisional benchmarks in row 13, and those are adjusted by the win percentage of each fighter. And then we're also going to look at the adjusted win condition here in row 20. And the adjusted win condition in row 27 is all fights, not just UFC fights. So when we see green numbers like here, you know, that indicates that the model likes it, but we also have only very small sample sizes because Bellato has only had 1 win and 1 loss, even though he's had 4 fights at the UFC level. So yes, Luke Fernandez minus 225 favorite, Rodolfo Bellato plus 190. Fight doesn't go to decision here, sitting at minus 400. So my pick for this fight is Luke Fernandez to win by decision. So right there, I'm seeing some value in the over-unders in this fight because these guys are being priced as if they're going to finish this fight at a very high rate. But, you know, oftentimes we get some value in those kind of props when we have a UFC newcomer make their debut, right? Because they can slow down later in fights sometimes. Sometimes the nerves get to them and they're not as aggressive as they usually are. But a lot of times what happens is you're finishing guys on the regional scene, but once you get up to the UFC level, guys are going to be harder to finish. So we get these juiced betting lines like minus 400 for fight doesn't go to decision, and it's 19% more expensive than the divisional benchmark of 61%. You know, only 2 of 4 Bellato fights have actually finished inside the distance. That's only 50%. So my model likes fight goes to decision at plus 300, and it likes all the overs here, over 1.5 at minus 120, and the fight goes to decision at plus 300 are both great bets according to my template. But I also look at the stylistic read, and I feel as if a Bellato or a Fernandez fight is going to finish, it's probably going to finish in the first 7.5 minutes. After 7.5 minutes, neither one of these guys has had a fight that is finished in the second half here, or I'm sorry, in the third round. So I do think that if you're going to bet an over, you might as well bet the over 2.5 at plus 210, or the fight goes to decision. And also on the betting template here, we could see that Luke Fernandez by decision is plus 540 right now. And that's underpriced by about 12%, according to the benchmark for the division. So we're getting some value there. And that's because the market anticipates a finish. But if you go and you watch Luke Fernandez's fight that went to the decision, and you watch a lot of his tape, this guy spends a lot of time in the clinch. And one thing you don't want to be caught doing a lot is betting unders in fights that are going to be clinch heavy, because we see very few finishes from that position. So definitely going to see more finishes on the mat with submissions, and at distance striking range with knockouts. So my favorite spots for this fight are the fight goes to decision at plus 300. The Fernandez decision prop at plus 510, and Bellato by decision is plus 850. It's a big number. Because this could be a clinch-heavy fight that winds up playing out very close. So I see a lot of value in these overs. I see a lot of value in these decision props for this fight. Luke Fernandez inside the distance is minus 132. It's a hefty price to pay. And that's overpriced by about 14%, according to the long-term trend of the division. Bellato has finished all 11 of his professional wins. So you could see why the inside the distance prop is only plus 300 when his money line is plus 200. People aren't giving him a lot of minute winning upside, even though he's been to decision a couple of times at the UFC level, and won rounds 2 and 3 against Jimmy Crute, had a close round against Navajo Sterling. So yeah, I think that where the value is here is in the overs. Bellato's finish prop doesn't have a lot of value if you balance it up against what his money line is priced at. And for me, when you're seeing Luke Fernandez at 70% implied to win, but Luke Fernandez to win by decision is only 15% implied to win, what that's telling you is that they're giving him about a 23% chance if he wins to win by decision. So that they're saying there's a 77% chance that he's going to win this fight by finish, when only 60% of fights in this division actually do finish inside the distance. So that's where I'm seeing the value. If I were to find some value in a finish prop here, I would say that it would probably be Fernandez by knockout at minus 118, but I would not play that because his inside the distance prop is only minus 132. So you might as well just pay up in case there's a club and sub. So my model with 100% finish rate for Fernandez and 2 of 3 losses coming inside the distance, both at the hands of Vitor Petrino. I would still say that my favorite bet here is going to be Luke Fernandez to win by decision, and that at plus 540 is going to be a 0.25 unit tracked bet. And we are also calling that Wheezy's best bet for this fight. I think that Luke has the better skills to win minutes. I think he has more wrestling upside. He's very good at winning minutes in the clinch. And he's more aggressive, and he throws more volume at distance striking range. So stylistic read is Fernandez by decision. That is also going to be my best bet for this fight, and that will be a quarter unit tracked bet. So that is something you will see a bet write-up for later on, right below the probability show notes. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. I didn't get to say hello to you guys before we started here. My guy Olajuwon Dream is in the room. My guy C. Kurz is saying Raul Rosas is getting a haircut on Embedded, and that is a curse. That means I guess we got to bet Rob Font, and maybe that would be a very good spot this week. My guy Blue-Eyed Samurai is in the room saying, "Oi!" We got Olajuwon saying that your burner account, Sam. So we got a guy named Sam in our Discord who goes by Samurai. So I don't think it's his. I don't think it is, but maybe we'll find out. Yitro Benavraham in the room saying, I have too much respect for both men to bet on the main event, but if I was going to Oliveira money line, these odds are incorrect. I agree. Last night it was plus 190. I did not pull the trigger, and now it's plus 175, and I'm kind of surprised because I expected more money to come in on Max Holloway. We got Kyle saying apparently Big Wheezy's on CPT. I was a little bit late today, but I was just making sure everything was ready for the show this week. We got Bunk Hoots in the room saying, let's go. We got Daz saying, wow, breakfast show. Let's go. What's up, Daz? Good to see you checking in, my man. We got Blank Zone MMA saying, decent card for betting. Unlike that dumpster fire last week, we got to agree with that. We got Dixon saying, Prophet Weeziah, I'm stopping by to give you a virtual hug. I'm going to work right now, so I'm going to be busy, but I'm going to have you in my earbuds the whole time so you never walk alone. My man, we got the great picture there of Daniel Zellhuber in his McDonald's hat. Make sure the fries are crispy, Daniel. We got Fromage Frog saying, gracias for the free week, Uncle Wheezy. Thank you for joining me. We got Olajuwon saying, give Wheezy money now. They're not going to give it to me this week, unfortunately, because they're getting it for free. But the plan here is that when you see how much content there is on the probability stats and content package this week, when you get all of that content for free, that you're going to be like, oh my God, there's no way I can pass this up going forward. I'm going to click that link in the description of the video and sign up for 50% off my first month's membership, like my guy Olajuwon Dream did, like a lot of the people in this chat did already. Big Wheezy in the building, says my guy Kyle. We got M. Tess in the room saying, Wheezy, what's up, dude? We got Bunk Hoots saying, what's up to Daz and saying, give money now, haha, Olajuwon Dream. We got, you already know. We got V-Bucks in the room saying, Wheezy, what is up? We got Daz saying, Bunk Hoots saying, what's up? Ullman saying, rent money on Fernandez, Tobias money line. 2 debutantes at juiced money lines. I wish you luck. I think they're going to win, but it's always greasy doing that. Feeling a good night of bets, says my guy Colby. We got floor guy Gary saying, played the over when it dropped. Let's go, Easy. Cage pushing all day, my man. Luke did it for 25 minutes. He did. In his CFFC, one of his title fights, it was just cage push for an entire 4 rounds. And, you know, Bellato is also a very durable guy. So I do like Fernandez by decision this week at plus 540. We got my guy Sam saying, give Uncle Wheezy money now, and Sam will be joining me after the show is over, after I break down all the fights to help me come up with the probability parlays this week. And we got Live Dog saying, what's up, Unc? Didn't have time to watch your content this week, so I was just curious if you're picking Holloway or Charles. I am picking Charles, and he is the Bootsy Collins Memorial. Dogs are barking. Pick of the week is Charles Du Bronx Oliveira. I gave him out at plus 190. He's now plus 175, and I'm waiting to find out if that bounces back to plus 190. That is not my burner account, says our guy Sam. Ryan saying, let's get the Uzo ready for this card, Wheezy. Yeah, man, Yamas. We'll cheer up and we'll have a couple drinks for this one. It's going to be a really fun card. We got Live Dog saying, I like so many underdogs on this card. This is one of those ones where you can put $1 or $2 and play a few long shots for sure. Oh, you got that right, man. We got Justin Cash saying, oi. We got Tehran saying, oi. And we've got Olajuwon Dream saying, funny, both y'all are samurai. It's true. All right, you guys. We got the next fight, which is going to be Jeong-Yeong Lee versus Gaston Bolanos. And we've got Jeong-Yeong Lee is bounced up here. I'm going to actually adjust this. It's minus 350 now for Jeong-Yeong Lee. And I think we got about 275 for Bolanos. Maybe it's 265. Let me look. Bolanos is 285. All right. Now we'll show that. So, yeah, Jeong-Yeong Lee is a massive favorite here. And when it comes to the stylistic read of this fight, I had Fernandez by decision. I've got Lee by submission, but I definitely think he's live to land a big shot. I definitely think he's live to lock up a submission. Gaston Bolanos has been finished in, let's see here. Gaston 3 times he's been submitted, 1 time he's been knocked out. So he's been finished in 4 of his 5 professional losses. And Jeong-Yeong Lee is a well-rounded fighter with 3 submissions, 4 knockouts, and 4 decisions. So Lee's got a pretty even profile in terms of winning, fights by finish or by decision. But he's not a great minute winner. He's 4-2 to the decision. But remember, he got an absolute robbery go his way against Yijia. The guy landed like 12 strikes in that fight. He did nothing the whole time. So, like, Jeong-Yeong Lee should probably be 3-3 to the decision, and he should be 1-2 to the decision in the UFC. So I feel like if we're attacking Gaston Bolanos's weaknesses here, and that is that we've seen him get rocked on the feet as well as show poor submission defense on the mat, maybe what we're looking at is a Jeong-Yeong Lee inside the distance prop. And if we go down here to, the total performance for both fighters, 5 of 8 fights for Jeong-Yeong Lee have finished inside the distance. He's won 5 of his 8 wins are inside the distance, 4 of 5 losses inside the distance for Jeong-Yeong Lee. So my model says that should be priced around 53%. We're getting a price of around 51%. And the KO prop at plus 215 is not as big as the sub prop at plus 400, which I find interesting, right? Because 75% of Gaston Bolanos's finished losses come by submission, and Gaston is most dangerous when he's on the feet. The guy's a former world Muay Thai champion, so he's a striker. He's not known for his grappling. So I would think that Jeong-Yeong Lee, if he was smart, would be going out there looking to find a submission. So when I see minus 105 on the inside the distance, but my read is submission, and it's only priced at 20% compared to 51%, I would have to say that Jeong-Yeong Lee to win by submission at plus 400 is probably my best bet for this fight. And Lee by sub at plus 400 is where we're going to, and I'm going to call that Wheezy's best bet as well. It's way better than the inside the distance line at minus 110. And I may throw a quarter unit on that, because I like to kind of put small bets on where the stylistic read meets the value. And I'm seeing the value because of what I saw from Fernandez on tape in overs and decision props there. And I'm seeing value here in that. Why should Lee's knockout prop be twice as expensive at around plus 200 than his sub prop at plus 400 when we've seen Bolanos show big weaknesses in his submission defense and grappling defense in prior fights. So I think if Jeong-Yeong Lee fights smart, he's going to attack that weakness, which makes Lee by sub my favorite bet. But also I think we want to point out that Jeong-Yeong Lee has not been looking good lately. And if we look at momentum in this fight, you could see here Jeong-Yeong Lee has lost his last 2 fights, and he was priced as a favorite in both of those fights. So he doesn't have a lot of momentum, and now he's being priced even more expensive, against Bolanos than he was against Emil and Santos, which makes sense because Emil and Santos are so much better than Gaston Bolanos is. So I see why the prices went up, but I just want to caution people, now that Jeong-Yeong Lee's money line has gotten to minus 350 here, the value is kind of gone from that. And I don't think Jeong-Yeong Lee, in terms of his MMA skill set at this level in the UFC in this division, is a guy that should be priced up at this price right about now. So I think Bolanos might have some upside here. And we've seen Jeong-Yeong Lee get knocked out. And it was by Haider Emil, who's not a massive power puncher. Haider Emil is more of a pace, pressure, volume guy who will break you in the second half of the fight, not just go out there and starch your ass in a minute, which is exactly what he did. So I like to talk about attacking weaknesses because you can look at a sample size of wins, and everybody's win sample size at the UFC level is bigger than their loss sample size because everybody has winning records up at this level. So I like to attack those weaknesses because even though it's half of the equation, so to speak, it's only treated like it's about 20%. So Jeong-Yeong Lee has lost by knockout, and he's not the best minute winner. So I could see him losing this fight by decision. So when we add up the props for Bolanos in those areas, KO is 14%, decision is 14%, and his money line is being priced at 26%, which means that they're onto it. They know that Gaston has no chance at a submission. So I think that if you're going to be on the Gaston side, you could wind up getting a knockout there, and I'd say that that's my model's favorite bet would be Gaston by knockout. But I also think Bolaños's money line would be the way that you would probably want to play him, because I could see a knockout, and I could even potentially see if Jeong-Yeong Lee wrestles, but Bolaños stuffs a lot of those takedowns or limits the success of Jeong-Yeong Lee in the grappling exchanges, that he could win minutes here, especially if he gets on top, because Bolaños does have good ground and pound. So I'm going to just give the Bolaños KO at plus 600, the Bolaños money line, which is currently sitting at plus 285, as the best bets on that side. And when we look at the betting models for over-unders in this fight, we have an 8-fight sample size, and my model is definitely favoring the overs here. And probably fight goes to decision, because 3 of 4 Jeong-Yeong Lee fights and 2 of 4 Bolaños fights have seen the scorecards. That is a trifecta bet on the template, which means that row 12 is positive, row 17 or row 18 and 19 is positive. When all 3 of those rows are positive and in the green, we refer to that as a trifecta bet, and it means more the bigger the sample size of fights for both fighters is. And here we've got an 8-fight sample size, 4 fights on each side. So yeah, fight goes to decision is actually something that my model likes quite a bit, but I think that the value here, and I'm going to write that down, fight goes to decision plus 135, trifecta bet on the over under model. That's what I'm seeing in terms of value on this fight. And there might be a quarter unit bet on Lee to win by submission. And, the fight goes to decision at plus 135 for a featherweight fight. Getting plus money for a fight goes is a pretty good thing, because fights go to decision in this division at 54% of the time. So whenever you're paying below 50%, you're getting a little bit of a discount based on the long-term trend of the division. And then it's nice to look at that long-term trend, not as like an indicator on whether you should bet it or not, but just as a nice benchmark to know what percentage of fights. And I mean, look, we've got a 689 fight sample size here. So that's a real robust sample size that tells you over the long term, these fights go to decision about 54% of the time. And then you can look at it. All right, it's Lee, it's fighting Bolaños. Is Lee going to be a finisher at this level? Maybe, maybe not. But if he is, if he's going to finish Bolaños, he's probably going to do it by sub, because even though Bolaños is a little bit chinny, Jeong-Yeong Lee is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who has, a 3-0 record to the submission. So that's what I'm seeing for this fight, you guys. That's where the value is on the spreadsheet. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Tehran is saying that people are really sleeping on Oliveira. They are, man. They've been doing it for a while. They made him plus money against Mateusz Gamrot, you guys. People are sleeping on him. My guy Live Dog saying, nice stuff. Good luck. I'm on the opposite end. He's saying, we got Genova saying 3 Codys on the same card is crazy. It's crazy work, man, especially as a content creator trying to use the last names instead of the first. Tehran saying Holloway called Oliveira a quitter. And we all know Oliveira doesn't take kindly to that. He's going to put an ass whooping on Max. We got Live Dog saying all Codys are underdogs on this fight. That is true. Reyes round 1 knockout. Oh, my God. With 1 second left last week. What a smack. That's a huge hit. And hitting it with 1 second left is just a major way to hit a bet. I dare someone play the Holy Cody Underdog Trinity parlay. And ring a ding ding, you guys, saying... my guy Daz saying quite like that fight to start round 2 in Luke versus Rodolfo, and the G-Rod versus Ferreira fight parlay at plus 140. G-Rod going to start cautious after last time and clinch a bit. Hopefully might even wrestle. Yeah, dude, I don't mind overs in that fight. The first fight ended in the first round, but I do think that we could see that one go to decision this time. So it's always nice when you want to be a contrarian, you're going to get value there. And oftentimes, trends change. And that's when you can really, when you go against the market is when you're going to get the most value. And we know that MMA is a high variance sport. So I don't mind that one at all, Daz, and truly appreciate the donation to the show, my man. Ring a ding ding. $10 donation from my guy Daz, one of the real ones that's been here almost since day one of me starting this channel. So I truly appreciate you, my man. We got Bunk Hoots is saying clutch. We got Blue Eyed saying Lee decision probably. I could see that too. And my model does like Lee decision here at plus 230, underpriced by almost 12% according to the benchmark for the division. And in a 4-fight sample size, which is small, nothing we take too much into consideration, 39% is where the model said it should be priced, and we're only paying 30. So my model does like the decision prop at plus 230 quite a bit for this fight. But the problem with that is that the fight goes is already plus 135. So because Jeong-Yeong Lee hasn't proven himself to be a good minute winner, and Gaston Bolanos is more than capable of winning minutes at distance striking range, I think I would just rather play the fight goes at plus 135 than Jeong-Yeong Lee decision at plus 230. My guy, ETE, my Tridal, Etami Tradle, saying, Teo Wheezy, what is up? We got my guy R3 Prediction saying, Wheezy stays working. You're damn right. I'm working hard every week. And normally it's just for the paid subscribers, but I'm hoping that this week when you see how hard I work, that you'll think about joining up next week for the rest of the year or for the month, whatever. And getting on board with the probability stats and content package available only on oddshopper.com. You get access to me, Uncle Wheezy, and all my stats, metrics, models, content, Discord, bets, write-ups, everything, you guys. Join up. You heard? We got Genova saying, fun fact, this is the second time 3 Codys have fought on the same UFC card, and they are the same 3 Codys as this weekend card. At UFC on ESPN, we had Usman versus Buckley. None of the Codys won. There was a 2-loss and 1 draw, and maybe Cody's draw was actually considered a loss that day, which was overturned to a draw. So, wow, maybe we go Long Xiao, Donte Johnson, and who's the other Cody? Nyamjargal Tumendemberel is the anti-Cody parlay this week. Maybe that one hits. We got Du Bronx and Raul Rosas all day. I'm picking both of them to win, so I'm with you there. Bolanos decision plus 400. I got it at plus 600, dude. So Bolanos decision at plus 600 is not a bad look. Plus 400, I don't like that nearly as much. Yeah, I don't like that nearly as much at plus 400. Go to Bet Rivers and get it at plus 600. Live Dog saying that he's never been impressed with Oliveira. Picked him in Chandler 1, DP, and Gaethje. I did have him to sub Gamrot as a lock, though. Yeah. We got Slabawaki saying, what's good, Wheezy? What's good, man? Good to see you in here. And ring-a-ding-ding. We got Justin Cash with the $2 donation saying Dober via hate crime. Yeah, man. People are always talking about how he beats black guys and loses to white guys. So it's pretty funny. Let's see if that trend continues. Smoking a fat bowl for you right now. Good to see. We got Mini Moo in the room saying 3 Codys is 25-1. Yeah, it's a big number, dude. I'm ready for Oliveira to go back to the prelims. Says, which Oliveira? Please don't tell me Charles. Don't talk about Charles Oliveira that way. One of the most exciting, one of the busiest, one of the best finishers in the history of the organization, the UFC submission leader. I hope you're talking about some other Oliveira because there's like 9 of them. Bet against all the Codys, then all of the other Asians, and then all of the other. Okay. And we got my guy Paku is in the room saying, Big Chur, good to see you hanging out in here. 158 of you hanging out live. Click the link in the description of the video to download that stat package, which you see, to download my fight write-ups. And click that link, the most important one, to get 50% off your first month's membership to the probability stats and content package so that you get access to this phenomenal content every week. All right, let's move on to the next fight, you guys, which is going to be Mudaerji versus, or I'm sorry, that's not what we're looking at. It's going to be Rafael Tobias versus Diyar Nurgozhay. We got Tobias sitting around minus 200 the other day. Let's see where he's at now. Now he's minus 180 and plus 155. So minus 180. And then Diyar Nurgozhay is plus 155. And the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight, is priced up at minus 400 again. So 80% chance of finish, and then 25% chance of going to decision. So we see exactly 5% of VIG in that over under. I should say fight doesn't go prop here on Bet Online. Good VIG, they take less than most books. So that's why Bet Online is something I'm always looking to make my bets for, either money lines or over-unders, because they have the tightest spreads of most of the books that I play. Now, Tobias sitting around minus 180. He's a newcomer. He's only 22 years old. Nurgozhay definitely a little bit more experienced and better wins on his resume as a professional. But obviously, the recency bias on Nurgozhay is about as bad as it can be. Back-to-back losses. He missed weight by 4.5 pounds for his UFC debut. And he'd been submitted in both of those losses, once by Kimura, once by Ezekiel choke from top position. Pretty pathetic, So if you are a real believer in Diyar Nurgozhay, I can assure you that this is going to probably be the best price that you're going to see him at thus far, or that you're going to see him at in the UFC, unless he gets one more fight and fights somebody even more hyped than Tobias is. But my stylistic read for this fight is Tobias by second round knockout. I think he's gonna, get this fight to the ground and do damage there. That's what I think. He could probably get to mount. And Diyar's ground game just looks absolutely awful. You're out there getting submitted by Ribeiro and Salty Baldiev. And I think that Tobias is going to be pushing a little bit more pace on the feet. I think he's going to be doing a little bit more. I think he's going to be wrestling, and I think he's got grappling upside. So I do like him to win this fight. And with what we've seen from Nurgozhay, there is just a gigantic hole in his ground game right now, in his submission defense. So I think Tobias would be smart to go out there and make this dude wrestle. Don't go out there and play with Diyar where he's most comfortable, and that's a distance striking range in like a low volume point fighting match where Diyar is throwing big power into those one at a time strikes. You almost never see Nurgozhay put together a combination. Everything that he throws is one at a time, or like it's a 1-2 with like a half-ass jab where the jab just sets up the straight. And I just don't see it from this guy right now. I thought he was a decent prospect when he was coming into the UFC, but missing weight by 4.5 pounds when you're already not like a very lean guy, that's disgraceful. It shows that you're probably not taking things seriously, or there's serious health concerns, or maybe you're just with the wrong coaches in the wrong camp. Rafael Tobias, I believe, is a shoot box guy. So even though he's only 22 years old, I think he's already got 15 professional fights, and he's actually got more professional fights than Diyar Nurgozhay does. So I think that this is going to be Tobias. I think he's got a lot more momentum and positive career trajectory coming into this fight, and he looks to just be a lot busier. We've seen Diyar finished in both fights. So let me see, get the model up here for you guys. So the over-under model, not going to be a ton of help, but you could see that 20 of 24 fights have finished inside the distance for these guys outside the UFC. So, I mean, obviously both guys are known to be finishers, but we're paying 80% in a division that only finishes 61% of the time. So I think that there's value in the overs here. Over 1.5 minus 103. Fight goes to decision plus 300. But I think those are the better bets. Let's just put it that way. 54% of fights go over, but we're paying about 51% here. So it's not like that's a ton of value. But where the value is here is 39% to 25%. So that's a 14% difference. And it just tells you that the stylistic read is for violence here from the market, but they're willing to overpay for it. Now, when we go to the betting template with Tobias now at only minus 180 and Diyar at plus 155. So you can see that Nurgozhay was plus 210 earlier in the week. So there's been a steady stream of money that's been coming in on the Nurgozhay side, and Tobias has been becoming cheaper and cheaper here. Tobias with a good stretch of wins here, 5 by knockout, 6 of submission, and 3 by decision. Diyar with 6 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, and only 1 by decision. And I don't think Diyar is going to be somebody that's going to be winning decisions. He's too low volume, and his wrestling is just okay. So I don't think that he's going to be a minute winner. I think he's somebody that needs to win big moments, either to steal rounds or win fights. Tobias has been knocked out in his only loss. So, there could be some value in Diyar Nurgozhay by knockout at plus 350 because I feel as if, and he does have some submissions on his record. He's got a couple of them. Tobias has never been submitted, and he trains at Shoot to Box. So, I think he's going to be a tricky guy to submit. So, right now, this is not a fight that I have a whole lot of interest in betting, but I do think Tobias kind of beats this guy. But minus 118 inside the distance, minus 180 money line. I'd rather probably just play the money line there. I think that there's some value in Diyar Nurgozhay by knockout. And, obviously this is going to be overpriced, this plus 185 submission prop, because we've seen Diyar be submitted in both of his losses. So if we're attacking that weakness, that's plus 185. I think that's something we have to talk about. So Tobias KO plus 350. Tobias sub is plus 185. And that's attacking the weakness of Diyar Nurgozhay. But, it's not a great number, and it's not like Tobias is some kind of like submission ace. So I think that maybe the one that actually has the most value is Tobias' decision at plus 550. Just because, now that he's up here at the UFC level, it's going to be harder to find finishes. And when you look at Tobias' strength of competition, especially the strength of the wins, it hasn't been that great. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next fight after we finalize the bets here. Tobias KO, Tobias sub, and then I think Nurgozhay is plus 350. And that would be attacking the weakness because Tobias's only loss did come by knockout, and Nurgozhay's got good kicks. And like I said, he might only throw one at a time, but he does throw with power. So I could see a potential KO here for Nurgozhay. But the fight doesn't go to decision, is priced at minus 400. Tobias's inside the distance prop is priced at minus 118. So I'm just not seeing a lot of value there. I think the value is in the overs and just being a contrarian there, but I'm not recommending that because we got a debutante against a guy who's been finished twice in both of his UFC losses. So I'm willing to just sit this one out and not worry too much about how it plays out. I think that Tobias wins and wins inside the distance, but I'm not willing to play it because it's just too expensive. Justin asking how many people get served this week. Not many, man. I think only like 3. Don Boone is saying, oi. We got Ullman saying sue by decision easy. I like that one. Kyle saying Caesar's one of the few books that consistently gives you better odds for building a prop as a single game parlay compared to just playing the prop. Shout out to Angelo from We Want Picks for that tip. I do have a Caesars account. Maybe I'll start doing a little bit more same game parlays if they're offering really good odds on those. I think at least one Cody will win. Probably No Love or Durden. Yeah, I could see that. Take out Jingling and the 2 songs and Chinese men have a horrible go in the UFC. Yeah, they haven't looked good so far. That's for sure. Kyle saying, I shit talked Ange saying no book would be that stupid, but Caesars really is that stupid. Well, I didn't know that. Durden is such a dummy, though. I mean, well, he gets caught. He loses moments. He wins minutes, but he loses moments. Garbrandt TKO 1, says my guy Daz. We got, what were you doing on that? On what island, man? I'm the island of Chicago. On Goose Island? We got Goose Island right in the middle of Chicago. They got a brewery there. Pretty nice. Am I weird for actually thinking Diyar has a chance here? Recency bias be damned. Well, he was minus 400 in his UFC debut. So just 2 fights later, you're getting him at plus 155 against a UFC debutant who's only 22 years old. So if you want to be a contrarian, if you want to take advantage of bad recency bias to get a cheap price, I think that's a possibility. Unk was rolling up for the Dons, says my guy Kyle. Dober by ref stoppage on cuts is the call by Don. I bet no love, but it was more of an anti-China bet than a pro-Cody bet. I'm tempted to bet the retard blinker just because Tobias has 0 fight IQ and fight stays standing. You know, I mean, he's a good striker when the fight's standing, but he still doesn't do a lot. That's the thing. I don't like Diyar's volume, his output. It's not good enough. Grant Dawson and Drew Dober are the same fighter in my mental Rolodex. They're completely different, though. Grant is Matt Damon. Dober is Christian Bale. There you go. Not enough tape on Tobias. Diyar is 100% takedown defense. He shoots, then gets submitted and fights. He may be dumb enough to do it again a third time, potentially. The striking I saw from Tobias, I didn't like it. He got KO'd by Porto, who's actually trash. He couldn't get takedowns and got exposed. I played the under 1.5 at minus 115. I think either a KO or a decision happens here, says Hi Owl. Each fighter now is to promote themselves. Long-term contracts are a thing of the past. The money is in play. Fighters want the bonus in another fight. You shake a tree in Brazil and 100 guys like Tobias fall out. 101.5, good bet. Tobias passed that. We have doesn't concern me. I think someone gets served early. We say, when I turned the show on earlier, the first words I heard when I turned the show on in my car was, we got dicks inside her. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next fight. We got the next one is going to be Mudaerji versus Jesus Aguilar. Where is that one? There it is, minus 240 on Mudaerji, plus 205 Jesus Aguilar. The fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. Is sitting at plus 110. So let me just change it to minus 230 for Aguilar and plus 195. There we go. So I like Mudaerji here. My pick for this fight is Mudaerji by decision. And he does such a good job of winning minutes at distance striking range. And not that Jesus Aguilar doesn't. Jesus Aguilar's, I mean, he's very small for the division. He's only got a 64-inch reach, while Mudaerji has a 74-inch reach. So, but for a guy that as small as Aguilar, he's done a really good job of winning minutes. And you can actually look at it here in the stats package. If we go to the SP tab, you could see here in the distance striking stats that Mudaerji lands 5.25 significant strikes per minute when he's at distance striking range and only absorbs 2.06. Like that's less than half of what the divisional average is absorbing at that range. So Su is not only, right around average in terms of volume for the division, but he's well above average in accuracy and landing. And he's way above average at 69% distance striking defense with only 2.06 significant strikes landing or absorbed per minute and a positive 3.19 distance strike differential. So Mudaerji is going to be extremely hard to win minutes against when you consider the fact that he's going to be 4 inches taller than Jesus and he's going to have a 10-inch reach advantage over Jesus. Because while Jesus does have good numbers, you can see 16 distance strike attempts per minute. So he stays very busy. He's always throwing in combination. positive 2.24 distance striking differential. The question is he going to be able to get into the pocket against Tszyu? And if he gets too reckless trying to get into the pocket against Tszyu, is he going to get clipped? Is he going to get dropped? Is he going to get knocked out? So Jesus Aguilar has been submitted twice in his career, but he's never been knocked out. So I do think that the best play here is what my stylistic read for the fight is, and that would be getting Mudaerji instead of minus 230 on the money line, getting his decision prop at plus 125. You can see here that 4 of 5 wins for Mudaerji at the UFC level have come by decision, and 1 of 2 losses for Jesus Aguilar at the UFC level has come by decision as well. So in a 7-fight sample size, which is a decent sample size of wins and losses, we got a prop that should be priced around 50%, but we're getting 44%. And we're able to kind of count on the durability of Aguilar and the fact that Mudaerji hasn't really been finishing fights at this level. As a matter of fact, I think Mudaerji went 3 rounds. Yeah, he went 3 rounds with Zaruk Adashev. Couldn't get him out of there. Mitch Raposo, he just kind of coasted in the Raposo fight because Raposo wasn't throwing any strikes. And then against Kevin Borjas, he kind of just coasted because Borjas couldn't close the distance. So Tszyu is able to win minutes because he uses his length very well at distance striking range, and he's very crisp and technical out there. So I think he's going to be able to do the same thing here against Aguilar, and I can't count on Aguilar to find takedowns and to create the kind of scrambles where he can snatch up a guillotine. So if we look at the over-under model here, my model likes the unders actually quite a bit. And it says that if we're going to find a finish, it's probably going to be under 1.5 rounds. So my model in a 15-fight sample size at plus 250 for the under 1.5 rounds is almost showing a trifecta bet. It's showing a trifecta bet for the fight doesn't start round 2 at plus 380. And a fight doesn't start round 3 at plus 180. But here's the thing we got to keep in mind, right? One of the fights that finished for Mudaerji was round 1, and it was against Malcolm Gordon, who has no chin. Jesus Aguilar, one of his fights finished in round 1, and that was via knockout against Shannon Ross, who once again doesn't have any chin. So really, those are fights that you want to make sure that you don't think that those are the norm. And then you had Jesus getting that that guillotine against Stuart Nickel. And then he had another fight finish in round 1, and that would have been Tatsuro Taira getting a rear naked choke, I believe, or finishing him on the mat. So even though my model is showing a ton of value here, for this particular matchup, I personally see it, going the distance. And I think that the best prop for the fight is minus 140 for fight goes, because we're only getting plus 125 for the Mudaerji decision prop. But Jesus Aguilar's decision prop is plus 600, and Jesus throws more volume, and he's the one with the wrestling upside here. So I would rather play fight goes to decision, because that's fairly priced according to the metrics for the division, the long-term trend. And I think that stylistically this fight goes over. So I'm going to give you guys fight goes to decision. Minus 135, I think we said. Minus 140. Mudaerji by decision is my stylistic read. And I also think that there's a lot of value in Aguilar by decision at plus 600. I think it's going to be very tricky for Aguilar to try to find grappling transitions here. And one thing I want to point out is that, I know that Aguilar is a great guillotine, and I know that Mudaerji's been submitted in 5 of his 6 professional losses. So my model definitely likes the submission. The inside the distance prop is plus 430 and the sub is plus 460. So you would just play Jesus Aguilar inside the distance. But I think Mudaerji's takedown defense has gotten a lot better. I think his submission defense has gotten a lot better. So I do think that this one is going to see the scorecards, even though my model sees a bunch of value in Tszyu inside the distance, in Aguilar inside the distance. I'm going to give you guys all of the over props here. And in terms of the money line, I think it's pretty good right here. Let me just update it here. Minus 230 for Tszyu, 195 for Aguilar. I don't want to get involved on the money line. I think that this is properly priced. I think the stylistic read that Tszyu is just going to dominate the distance striking exchanges and win the minutes is probably how this one plays out. So, yeah, Mudaerji money line minus 230. I think that's fairly priced, and I think that there's some value in a Aguilar decision prop, an Aguilar money line bet here. What would be my best bet for this fight? I'm picking Mudaerji to win, and I don't have faith that he's a big finisher at this level. So I'm going to say that Weezy's best bet, once again, is going to be Mudaerji by decision. All right. No. It's going to be fight goes to decision. Sorry. I'd rather play minus 140 for fight goes because I think Aguilar does have some minute winning upside. So Weezy's best bet's going to be the fight goes minus 140. And Weezy's best bet for Diyar Nurgozhay versus Rafael Tobias is none. I'm not playing that fight. I think that there's going to be a finish one way or another, but I'm not paying minus 400 for fight doesn't go. And the problem is that I don't want to count on either Tobias or Nurgozhay to get a finish at this level. So, I mean, I think I'd rather play the overs, but I don't want to bet on either of these guys not getting finished either. So I just think that I want to be clear with this fight that there's nothing that I like there. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Aguilar plus 3.5 says Gary. I don't mind that. What is that? Plus 3.5 is minus 140 there. Minus 140. Go to the fridge for another beer on that fight. 29-28 says Gary. Yeah, so then that 3.5 would hit. High Owl like Tszyu this week. Jesus round 3 when Tszyu is ready for a nappy. When Aguilar's sub decision, no bet. Don't know. I don't have that available. Tszyu going to be wearing Jesus like a rosary around his neck? I don't think so, man. Aguilar is not a great wrestler, and he's going to have a tricky time trying to close the distance against somebody like Tszyu, I think. Aguilar's sub 2-3 is plus 950. That's a big number, man. But I mean, personally, I would go any round. And I mean, like, but it is a lot better price than just the straight sub prop. So I see what you're doing there. All right, let's move on to the next fight. And that is going to be Cody Durden versus Nyamjargal, Tumendemberel. We got Durden sitting around plus 125 now, I think. Let me look. Durden plus 140. So when I did Balls Deep breakdowns, Cody was plus 115. So the money is starting to come in on Tumendemberel, who's now up to a minus 160 favorite here. Cody Durden plus 140 dog. And the fight doesn't go to decision. Is sitting at minus 200. Is that right? Jesus. Like, I get that Tumendemberel's a finisher, but yeah, minus 200 plus 160. So right away, I like the fight goes. At plus 160, that's underpriced by 16% according to the long-term trend for the division, which encapsulates 357 fights. 55% of flyweight fights see the scorecards. We're only paying 38% here. Is Nyamjargal Tumendemberel going to be a finisher at this level, at the UFC level? He hasn't shown that yet. He even lost to Carlos Fernandez, who got finished in round 1 by Hyun-Sung Park. So I just think that I know that the finish upside here is on the Tumendemberel side simply because this guy just goes for it, man. He's not a very good minute winner. But what he is somebody that looks to finish you with everything that he does in there, whether it's, submission attempts on the mat, whether it's with strikes on the feet. Nyamjargal is looking to get you out of there. Cody Durden is the perfect kind of opponent for Tumendemberel because Cody can win minutes, and then bam, gets bonked or gets caught in a submission and the fight's over, and he was winning up until that point. So I think that this is a very, very clear-cut fight. You're either betting Tumendemberel inside the distance. Now, my pick is KO for Tumendemberel. But Tumendemberel inside the distance was priced at plus 165 or plus 155. And then it's either that or Durden by decision or the Durden money line. But Durden by decision is plus 410. That is a trifecta bet on my template. 4 of 6 wins for Cody Durden coming by decision. Tumendemberel's only loss coming by decision at the UFC level. Decent sample size of fights. A very underpriced bet there. So Durden by decision at plus 410. And then Durden decision only. The Durden decision only. There's the fight lines. Minus 105, and on Bet Rivers, I think it's right around there as well. Minus 103. So because Durden is a good minute winner, but he's so prone to being finished, I feel like the best way to play Durden is to just say decision only because you're getting about even money. And I think most of Tumendemberel's win condition is going to be a finish because this guy's just not a good minute winner, you guys. Anybody can take this guy down. If Cody Durden wants takedowns, he's going to get them against this guy. He just needs to chain them together. He can make them wrestle. He can probably get to dominant positions and even threaten with submissions here. So minus 103 for Durden decision only. That is what I'm going to call Wheezy's best bet. Because I don't think Tumendemberel has very much minute winning upside. So I think this is something I'm going to probably think about playing this week. But frankly, I like all of these plays. I like Tumendemberel inside the distance at plus money. I like Durden by decision at plus 410. That's a trifecta bet on my template. And that is probably something I might play like for a quarter unit to win one. Big time plus EV bet there for Durden by decision. And stylistically, Durden decision only at minus 103. But my pick for the fight is Tumendemberel to win by knockout. And Tumendemberel inside the distance at plus 155 is definitely my favorite way to play him because I think if he lands a big shot and Cody goes down, Tumendemberel might look to finish with a submission. And we've seen Cody finish via submission so many times. So I think Tumendemberel at the UFC level has more knockout upside than submission upside. But I think Cody Durden has a lot more submission downside when he loses than he does knockout downside. So I'm going to go with Tumendemberel to win by KO, but the bet on that side would be his inside the distance or his finish only prop, which is sitting at minus 180 on Bet Rivers and minus 220 on Bet Online. So Oh my, yeah. So minus 180 there. And what's the finish only here? Minus 165. That's the best one? Yeah, minus 165. So I'll write that down too. Tumendemberel finish only. That's what I'm seeing for this fight, you guys. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got floor guy saying Cody will get him down early, and I will live bet Tumendem at a better number. We got deep inside her, my guy Barry McCockiner saying Durden ain't the same. Yeah, he might not be. He might not be, and that's why I think the finish only, or the decision only for him is like, if he's not the same and he does get finished, then you get your money back. But if he is ready to go and he's able to take advantage of that wrestling that he's got, he should be able to win the minutes here. We got fucking a balls deep and probability. Let's go. Yeah, giving it all away for free this week, JMO, trying to build up the numbers over on the Odds Shopper. Hopefully people will be signing up after this week. UFC the GOAT saying, what's up, Wheezy? Good to see you hanging out in here. And let's move on to the next fight, as it's going to be what? We got Ricky Turcios going up against Alberto Montes. Turcios plus 160, Montes minus 185. Montes by sub is my favorite play for this fight, and that is currently priced at... All right, let's go here. I think it's over here, right? No? Yeah, there it is. So Montes by sub sitting at plus 285. I think that's definitely the way to play his side. It's how he wins fights, right? Alberto Montes is minus 185 to win. That implied probability indicates that he has a 65% chance to win this fight. Alberto Montes to win by submission is plus 285. The price of that line is 26%, right? All four of Alberto Montes's previous wins, his last four wins, all come by front choke. Now, he's got good striking, but he's fairly low volume, and Turcios is kind of like a marauder that's going to come forward and look to just throw a bunch of volume. So I don't think Montes is going to do great on the feet. What he does is looks to lock up front chokes in the clinch and when there's any kind of grappling, and he will initiate takedowns to kind of build on those scrambles and stuff like that. So I think that Montes by submission being priced even cheaper than his decision prop indicates to us that we've got to play the submission, because I think Ricky Turcios might have a little more minute winning upside than Alberto Montes. So I'm going to give you Montes by sub at plus 285, and I'm going to give you guys Turcios by decision at plus 325, because Turcios is not a finisher at this level. Montes has never been finished as a professional. If my stats are correct, let me look over here real quick. Montes, he was knocked out in his only loss. It must have been a 5-round fight, because it's not showing up on this template. And I wonder if it came in round 4, but I don't have that in front of me. Well, no, actually I do. What am I talking about? Montes, when did the loss by KO come? Ira Lukowski, and it was a 5-round fight, and it came in round 2. So there is some knockout upside here for Turcios, I suppose, because Montes has been knocked out before, and it was by a guy named Ira. So that is a bad sign. But Ricky Turcios, only 3 of his 12 wins come by way of knockout. So yeah, Turcios by decision at plus 325, maybe a Turcios plus 3.5 points handicap, or a Turcios decision only prop. I think those could be really good looks. So let's see. Turcios decision plus 325. Montes by sub is going to be a 0.5 unit tracked bet. And that is also going to be Wheezy's best bet for this fight. I know it sounds square. I know it's a guy who he's going for the front choke. And it's just a very square bet, but it's not square according to the way that it's priced right now. So that'll be a quarter unit track bet. Montes by sub, Turcios by decision plus 325. And let's look and see where that decision only is. This is the finish only. So let's look at the decision only. Ricky Turquoise plus 110. That's not bad. And let's see where they got it for Turcos. Fight lines, decision only. Plus 130 on Bet Rivers. So if Montes doesn't find the front choke, I think Turcios has a lot of minute winning upside. I don't think that Alberto Montes is much better than Turcios anywhere other than looking to finish submissions. So I think the Turcios decision only at plus 130 is another great bet. That's Bet Rivers. And keep in mind that DraftKings has the exact same prop at plus 110. So big discount there for Bet Rivers, Ricky Turcos plus 130 decision only. That's what I like for this fight. And I think we're going to keep it there. Wheezy's best bet, though, is Montes by sub, and I'll be playing that for this one. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got 181 live viewers. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. And please consider joining the Probability Stats and Content package so that you'll get access to this show, Probability, every week. You get access to the other show we did last night, Balls Deep Breakdowns with Uncle Wheezy, every week. You'll get access to the fight write-ups, which are linked in the description of this video. You'll get access to the stats package, which is linked in the description of this video. That includes individual fighter stats, matchup stats in the form of overall metrics, and in-cage UFC stats. You're going to get my over-under betting model. You're going to get my prop betting model. You're going to get, obviously, the fight write-ups and the content, the tracked bets, access to the Discord, all of it for only $25 a month. And if you click the link in the description of the video, you'll get 50% off your first month's membership. And that's the best way to support my work if you have any love for your Uncle Wheezy at all. But let's move on to the next fight, which is going to be Donte Johnson versus Cody Brundage. Donte Johnson was here listed at minus 650 when I did the show last night. Now he's minus 900. So Donte Johnson, minus 900. Cody Brundage, plus 600. Fight doesn't go to decision. I think it's juice to the tits at minus 600 or something. Let's look and see. Minus 600. So, what are we supposed to do here? Are we really supposed to lay minus 900 on Donte Johnson? And like, if you decide whether you want to bet the props or not, you guys, the biggest indicator of whether you want to bet the props needs to be what the money line is, because this is a very simple mathematical problem that we have here. Minus 900 plus 600. There's VIG in that money line, right? Let's do a little math lesson here from your professor, Uncle Wheezy, all right? Let's learn a little something about math, because I say this shit over and over again, and a lot of people don't listen. If the money line is ass, the props are ass. Did you hear that? Did you see me say it? If the money line is ass, the props are ass. Got it? Good. Let's move on. Donte Johnson is minus 900. That is indicating a 90% implied probability to win. And Cody Brundage is plus 600. That gives him a 14.29% implied probability to win. So right there, just in the money line, you're getting 4.29% VIG, right? Because adding up Cody Brundage's win probability and Donte Johnson's, you get up 104. You get 104.29. So 4.3% VIG in that money line. Now look at the props here for Donte Johnson. Minus 175 for the knockout, plus 550 for the sub, and plus 650 for the decision. Why isn't it not adding? Yeah, that adds up to 92.35%. And that's not just the Bet Online numbers. That's Bet Online. That's also Bet River. So those are the best lines from both of those sites. So when you add up those three props, you're going to get even more of a win probability than what the actual money line is at 90%. And in this case, it's 92. But if we were to actually just look at what like Bet Online is offering, it would probably add up to more than 100%. So it's tricky here. We've seen Cody Brundage get submitted a couple of times. My model shows quite a bit of value actually on Donte Johnson by submission at plus 550. Shows quite a bit of value on Donte Johnson by decision at plus 650. But the KO prop is minus 175, and that's what everybody is expecting to happen. Cody Brundage, if you're going to bet him, I would just bet him to win in round one. Let's just see what those lines are at. They were plus 1,200 earlier, but his money line keeps getting worse and worse. So that bet might get even better and better. So round props, Cody round one is plus 1,600 here on Cody Brundage round one plus 1,100 here on Bet Online. Brundage round one plus 1,200. So yeah, plus 1,600. 100% of Cody Brundage's UFC wins come by first round finish. So I think that Johnson by KO is minus 175. It probably happens. Brundage round one is plus 1,600. That's his win condition. And let's face it, you guys, Donte Johnson shouldn't be 90% implied to win this fight. That's just too far. So, and Cody hasn't really ever shown anything in round 2 or 3. And even when he had Eric McConaughey, even when he had Cedricus Dumas out there, this guy couldn't show anything in rounds 2 or 3. So Brundage round one is the best way to play him. And I think the value plays are on Johnson decision or sub. Decision plus 600, sub plus 550, I think, right? 550 for sub, decision plus 650. Or sub plus 550. All right, value plays Johnson's decision, sub, because everyone's expecting the KO. So obviously the value is going to be someplace else because, when the market is all of one mind, there's no value there and you're just kind of chasing it. But, this Johnson KO could be like a potential parlay piece this week if you're looking to put together a two-legger with some, the obvious reads kind of. That's not a bad look for this week. But what would be my best bet would actually be Brundage round one because, like I said, there's no good bets when the favorite is minus 900. You're just not going to find anything that actually has any value on it. So I would say that you could put a quarter unit on this fight and potentially win 4 in the only way that Cody Brundage ever wins fights. So I think that would be the best bet because I think the best bet, you guys, is to stay away from this fight. And if the best bet is to stay away, then what you want to do is lose as little money as possible on the fight, which means either you don't bet it or maybe you just throw a little bit of a, you could put 1/10 of a unit on a plus 1,600 and win 1.6 units. I would usually put a quarter unit on it to try to win 4 because if I feel it's being mispriced, and I do think that this is, it's something you want to hit for some upside. So that is going to be Wheezy's best bet. And that's going to also be a 0.25 unit tracked bet. Why not? Why not, man? Guillotine, big knockout, big knee, slam, anything, that is what I'm going to go with here for my best bet for this fight. But I'm, like a quarter unit on this, I'm fine with just a quarter unit on that. And I think that Johnson by knockout could be a decent parlay piece this week, because that's kind of how we expect him to win fights at this level. So that's what we're going with. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. I'm back on the Aguilar fight, listening to Wheezy on it 2 times. I'll catch up you boys for the main event. We got Otterbaum saying, saving this one for later. Big Wheezy, thanks for the content, man. You got it, Otterbaum. I'm glad you joined us today, man. Smash the like, says my guy Daz. And not Rex saying, I went under 0.5 rounds, plus 300 on Fanatics. Definitely not a bad look. And Ullman going the other way here with the over 1.5 rounds for this fight, plus 157. 6 of 15 combined fights have went over 1.5 rounds at this level for these guys. And that is underpriced by 22% when you compare the price of the line at plus 157 to the long-term benchmark for the division. All right, let's move on to the next fight of the night, which is going to be, is it going to be Garbrandt? Yes, Cody Garbrandt. No love. And I got no love for that tattoo. At plus 125, going up against Xiao at minus 145. And the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight, is sitting at, wrong click, plus 110. So fight doesn't go, sitting at plus 110 for this fight. I kind of like the overs here. So my stylistic read for this fight is Xiao by decision, because he does more. If we look at the stats, Cody Garbrandt is notoriously low volume, but what he is he's precise and powerful and fast. So he doesn't need to throw a lot. He moves around, and he kind of like tries to limit how much his opponent lands on him and land the bigger shots in the round. But with that style, if you're not knocking people out, if you don't have terrifying power, you're going to be fighting on very thin margins. And that's what I worry about here with Garbrandt. Does he have KO power? I mean, is he going to get Xiao out of there, who's a bit of a marauder coming forward, staying in your face? So I don't know. I don't think it's the best look for Cody at this point in his career, but at the same time, he's better than this dude. He's obviously better than this dude. But let's see here. Cody's wins have come by knockout, but the last time that he knocked somebody out was Brian Kelleher, and Brian Kelleher, is retired now. And that was even a bit of a freak. Wasn't that the one where he kind of just went, or was that the Asensao knockout? I think it was the Asensao knockout that he got many years ago. That was just a wild one at the end of the round, where he threw a hook all the way from Albuquerque and it landed. So yeah, this is not a fight I want much to do with here. When we're looking at the over-under model, we've got a 14-fight sample size, and Cody Garbrandt's fights have finished inside the distance 8 of 11 times at the UFC level. So most of them have finished early. 5 of those 8 have finished in round 1. 7 of those 8 have finished in rounds 1 or 2. So, and then Xiao only fight that finished under 2.5 rounds. And that was the third round knockout against Quang Lee, I believe. So the model likes violence here, and Cody Garbrandt has been knocked out before. Cody Garbrandt does have power. My stylistic read says that Cody Garbrandt isn't knocking anybody out, and that Xiao is more of a volume guy, but he's not somebody that's going to be out there landing bombs. So I'm going to just be real clear here. Xiao by decision. is my pick for this fight. That line is sitting at about plus 175, and my model hates it because Xiaolong has never won a decision in the UFC, and only 1 of 4 losses has come by decision again for Cody Garbrandt. What my model really likes is Xiaolong inside the distance at plus 300. But like I say, I just don't see him finishing fights at this level, and I see Cody Garbrandt being very elusive. Like Cody Garbrandt at this point in his career isn't going to just like go into the pocket because the crowd is cheering. You know what I'm saying? Like he's trying to take little damage. He knows he's got a bad chin, so I think he's just going to kind of protect that chin, take this fight the whole way, and it's probably going to play out very close. So even though my model doesn't like it, I need to write it in here. So we're going to first put Xiaolong decision plus 175. That's my stylistic read for this fight, but I also like Garbrandt decision at like plus 280 or something. What was 295? And I'm going to say my model thinks there, or I should say my model is showing in the unders. I don't see much finish upside in either fighter. So I kind of like the fight goes to decision, which is currently priced at minus 140. I think that's pretty fairly priced in terms of just how many fights go to decision at this level. Fight goes to decision minus 140. And I'm going to say that Weezy's best bet is going to be Xiaolong by decision because I just think he does more. But I don't mind Garbrandt by decision, and I don't mind fight goes. And then the model shows value in fight doesn't go to decision at plus 110. It shows value in the under 2.5 rounds at plus 145. And it also shows Xiaolong inside the distance. Pretty good look here at plus 300. And I think if Xiaolong is going to get a finish here, it'll probably be a knockout. But if you get Garbrandt down, he's an absolute white belt on the ground. We saw Davison Figueiredo finish him on the mat. He looked horrible there. So, yeah, the model sees value in the finish props of both fighters, whether it be Garbrandt KO, Xiaolong KO. But like I say, I don't have faith in either of these guys finishing fights at this level. So I think and the overs are overpriced. So yeah, I'm just going to go with my best bet being the long by decision because it's my stylistic read. But this is a fight that I'd be very surprised if I even had a quarter unit on this fight. I'm not seeing a lot of value in those props. All right, we got my guy, Guile Crease in the room saying was always rooting for Kelleher. He's a Long Island guy, and he was fun to watch for a while, but then he had the neck surgery, right? And, when you're a professional athlete and then you take, a long layoff and have a serious surgery like that, if you don't come back the same, if you come back a diminished version of yourself, it becomes so clear so fast at this level. And that's what happened to Brian. So he's retired now. He's moving on. And I wish him the best. He put on a lot of fun fights in the UFC, but the dude wasn't the same after the surgery. That's for sure. We got Filthy Uncle Ben is in the room saying, "Hey, Weezy, I'm betting RDR this weekend. What do you think?" I'll be right there with you. I'm betting his money line as well. Plus 350 Garbrandt decision on Fanatics, Uncle Weezy. I'm maxed at like $10 on everything though, but just letting you know, I don't mind it, man. I think that's a pretty good look this week. Oh, wow. Yeah, I got plus 295 here listed. That's the best price I could find. I think that's a good look because Garbrandt's going to keep this fight close. He's very hard to land on. But I think optically, Xiaolong is going to look better because he's going to be the one walking forward, being more aggressive. And Bunkoots is saying he's got RoboCop for the revenge here. And that is the next fight that we're going to talk about. Gregory Rodrigues going up against Bruno Ferreira. We got Rodrigues minus 200, Ferreira plus 170. And the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. And now that's Rodrigues is only minus 170 now. Fight doesn't go to decision, sitting at minus 140. So Hyde minus 170 for Rodrigues, and Ferreira's plus 145. Okay. So the market is absolutely expecting violence because that's the way the first fight went. But I think that this one's got a pretty good chance to go to decision. My model likes the overs more than it likes the unders, but it thinks that they're both pretty fairly priced when you look at, because we have a 19 fight sample size, I kind of look at it being priced pretty close to where the model says that it should be close. And plus 138 for fight doesn't start round 2 is without question my model's favorite bet, because the first fight ended in round 1, and most of the win condition for these two fighters is in round 1. As you see, 73% of their fights have finished inside the distance, but 47% of their fights have ended in round 1. So well over 50% of their fights that have finished in round 1, yet we're getting more of a discount for the round 1 finish than we are for the fight to finish inside the distance. So I think if you're going to bet an under, you probably bet the under 1.5 or the fight doesn't start round 2. But if this fight, gets into round 3, it might go the distance here. So my model sees the most value in the fight goes for the overs, and for the fight doesn't start round 2 for the unders. So I will write fight doesn't start round 2 plus 138. That's the favorite violence bet here. Rodrigues by decision. Now, I think that this is a good play because Rodrigues is the better minute winner. Ferreira is very elusive at distance striking range, and he's won 14 of his 15 fights inside the distance. So he's not a guy that's known for minute winning. And Gregory Rodrigues, frankly, is a guy who's been finished a lot in his losses. So Ferreira decision is plus 850. Gregory Rodrigues decision is plus 525, well underpriced here. And, I don't think that this fight should be 80% to finish inside the distance. Ferreira caught Rodrigues with a clean shot the first time. Rematches very rarely take place the way that the first fight took place. But, it's the UFC. There's variance everywhere. But my favorite bet by far here is decision at plus 525, because Gregory has won 3 fights by decision at this level. He's knocked out 6 dudes, but he doesn't use his Brazilian jiu-jitsu very well. So, yeah, I'm going to go Rodrigues decision plus 525. That's Wheezy's best bet. The fight doesn't start round 2 has got some value here. I would rather play Rodrigues decision at plus 525 than fight goes to decision at plus 300, because I don't think Ferreira's got big minute winning upside here. And let's see. In terms of value, where my model is seeing value, Brunno Ferreira by submission is plus 1,600. That's an interesting look. Could be a club and sub. But Rodrigues has never been submitted before. Where he has shown problems is with the KO, and that's how Brunno Ferreira won the first fight. So what's better? KO at plus 280, inside the distance at plus 245. Since my model sees value in the sub at plus 1,600, I'm going to give you guys Ferreira inside the distance at plus 245 as the best bet for him to win this fight, and potentially even a finish only. What is the finish only? Plus 160 for Ferreira. So that means if it goes to decision, you get out. Plus 245 for inside the distance. I mean, Ferreira's been finished in both of his losses. So no, I don't think I want to do that. I think that, yeah, Ferreira inside the distance would be the best way to play his line. In my opinion, those are the plus EV bets here for this fight. Not much else I want to look at. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Carlos is in the room. What is up, dude? We got Gabe saying, I will be truly surprised if either RDR or Oliveira win. Yeah, I think a lot of people are definitely on the Xiao side and the Max Holloway side. And the one thing that I keep hearing everybody say about Xiao and Max is that they're just so much cleaner. They're so much better fighters. You know, when have you ever seen Charles Oliveira fight a fucking clean fight? You ever seen that? You ever seen Charles just kind of sit at distance striking range and be happy with that? No. When have you ever seen Renier to Ritter fight a clean fight? Because Xiao needs a clean fight. Max Holloway needs a clean fight in order to look like the best versions of themselves. The problem is that they're not going to get that kind of fight here. And I'm on RDR. I'm on Charles Oliveira, and I know for a fact that that the favorites are not going to get the fight that they want, and I'm getting the underdogs here. You know, I had people tell me the same thing when I was betting RDR at like plus 200 against Robert Whittaker. They're like, Whittaker's so much of a better striker. He's so much cleaner. And I was like, who fucking cares? It's not going to be a clean fight. And what happened? It was a dirty fucking fight. And Whittaker was running so far and so fast from De Ritter because of the constant pressure that zombie puts on people that he wasn't able to, you know, find those pretty moments other than the one spot. And I think it was the second or third round where he dropped Renier, but Renier recovered pretty well there. So I don't think they're going to get the clean fights that they want. So I'm very happy to get the plus money side here, but Holloway and Xiao are both favorites for a reason. Paku saying, if this fight goes over 7.5 minutes, I think it goes the distance. And that's exactly the way I feel, Paku. The value I'm seeing is fight doesn't start round 2, and that's what we put. But I'm not touching this one. Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, 1,500 Brunno sub versus Petrosian. That's a great bet because Petrosian's a dog shit grappler. And yeah, he wound up getting that sub. Via YouTube, 2 times speed kicks ass, says Kyle. I'm glad to see you. Charles looking slow against Chandler and Topuria makes me confident in Max. Max looked a lot better against Topuria than Charles did, for sure. No doubt about that. All right, let's move on to the next fight, which is going to be, Dober versus Johnson. So this one's pretty close to a pick'em. Let's see where the line has moved over the last day. Dober plus 102. So I'll just leave that. Minus 122 for Johnson, plus 102 for Dober. Fight doesn't go to decision for this fight, sitting at minus 200. Wow, so I already like the fight goes for this one. Dober's definitely a finisher, but Michael Johnson way more likely to get finished by submission than he is by knockout. But Dober is a guy who is a knockout artist. All right, let's get the models up here, and we're going to start with the over-unders because we got a massive sample size of fights. So what I always notice is when we get these massive sample sizes, 26 fights for Dober, 22 fights for Johnson, 48 fight sample size. This is where we find the value in that row 18, you know, and what the market is telling us is that the market is seeing a finish here because we're seeing value in these overs according to the colors, you know, and we're seeing a lot of red here on this side. And my read is that Michael Johnson, not really a finisher, right? And Drew Dober has been historically pretty durable. And Dober is a finisher, but Michael Johnson's a guy who's only been knocked out about 3 or 4 times, and it's because he's pretty good defensively, because he's tall and long for the division, and he has good boxing and good footwork, and he's fast. He's able to stay pretty fairly defensively responsible. He got nuked by Ferreira a few years back, but he hasn't been knocked out since. He hasn't even been hurt badly since. So my model sees value here in the over 1.5 rounds at minus 195. That one is actually a trifecta bet, but with only 5% of savings. And my model sees value in the fight goes to decision here at plus 160. What's interesting is that in 48 fights, only 2 fights of the 48 have finished in the last 2.5 minutes of round 3. So I would say fight goes to decision and over 1.5 are the first 2 things that I'm going to give here. Over 1.5 rounds. Fight goes to decision was plus 140 or plus 160. I already forgot. 160 and minus 195. 160 and minus 195. Johnson by decision. Plus 290. That's a trifecta bet. Johnson by sub at plus 2,500 is almost a trifecta bet, but we got to keep in mind that Michael Johnson has never subbed anybody at the UFC level. So, yeah, Johnson by decision, by far my model's favorite bet. I don't know why Michael Johnson's decision prop would be cheaper than his inside the distance prop. Who is Michael Johnson finishing? He couldn't finish Darius fucking Flowers. You know? I think maybe he got Atman Izaitar out of there, but that guy's, I mean, just horrible. When was the last time that he finished someone? So, yeah, it was Izaitar. Didn't finish Flowers. Didn't finish DK. Yeah, he's not a finisher. So, I like Johnson by decision. What is that betting line? Let me look. Plus 290. That's going to be Wheezy's best bet. And that is going to be a 0.5 unit tracked bet. Michael Johnson, in my opinion, is without question the better minute winner because he's better defensively. Dober just blocks punches with his face. And Dober really does rely on landing a bomb. So if Dober is going to win this fight, I think it's going to be by knockout. And it could even be a submission, you guys. Michael Johnson loves to get submitted. He's been submitted in 4 of his 11 losses, and he's been knocked out in 3 of his 11 losses. Those are the 5 round or the 3-round fights. So he's been finished in 7 of, or I'm sorry, he's been submitted 4 times and knocked out twice. So Drew Dober by knockout, seriously overpriced here. And since his KO prop is plus 175 and his inside the distance prop is plus 170, what that tells me is that there's actually going to be a little bit of value in Drew Dober by sub, and that there's zero. The worst bet on the card here for this fight is Dober KO at plus 175, not because he's not going to knock him out. It's because you can get the inside the distance at plus 170. So one of the biggest lessons you'll learn is knowing what your read is, but then just not clicking on the read, looking at the bets that kind of surround it and determine if your read is the best value or if you can give up just a little bit of upside in order to get a more solid bet. And I mean, inside the distance at plus 170 is just so much of a better bet than because like there's 17 total wins for Dober and losses for Michael Johnson that have been inside the distance, right? But the KO prop, which is priced almost the same, is only encapsulating 12 of those 17 finishes, right? So, and it's being priced as if it's like 99% of it. So, Drew Dober inside the distance at plus 170 is a much better bet than the KO. That would be the best way to play the Dober side, because I think if he's going to get a finish here, and I'm also going to give you guys Dober sub because it's a massive number. You would have to put almost nothing on it at plus 1,900, and my model says that it's seriously underpriced according to what these guys have done at the UFC level in an absolutely massive sample size of UFC cage time. So yeah, sub plus 1,900. Let's throw that one on there as a nice long shot bet for this week. All right, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We got Lazy Bed is in the room. What's up, dude, with a big hearty oi. We got High Owl saying fight goes damn butt puckerer of a bet for sure. I mean, yeah, but you know, like I said, dude, like some bets are butt puckerers, but there's no question where the value is. Michael Johnson is not really a finisher at this level, and Drew Dober is somebody that is getting finishes, but I mean, like Johnson's been historically durable, so I think it's a good bet. I mean, like any over is always a butt puckerer. Johnson KO easy, says Blue Eye Samurai. Huge sample says my guy Olajuwon, and that's when we can really rely on the numbers. Uncle Wheezy in the Heezy, says my guy Robot Chicken Wings. Dober sub, says Don Boone. Yeah, for sure. Plus 1900, great long-term or long shot bet. RoboCop turns back into Officer Murphy. CJ by decision would be a wild outcome. CJ? I don't know who CJ is. It implies neither Dober gets KO'd or finds that kill shot. Yeah. B-Neg saying Jeremy Williams ran through HoboCop. Yes, he did. That was a while back, but was it Jeremy Williams? It wasn't Jeremy. It was something. Was it Williams? The kid with diabetes, though. I remember. I like Drew here, says the High Owl. The money line. The solution saying Dober round 3 knockout, like in the last fight against Prepelec. Buttered pancake saying wisdom. We got Olajuwon saying, how sick would you be if you bet Dober knockout and he clubbed and subs him? Yeah. Especially when you look and you're like, oh my God, you know, I could have got plus 170 for the inside the distance prop. Yeah, Dober sub would be nuts. Yeah, and it could happen, you guys. Like Michael Johnson's gotten subbed so many times, so it's not a bad not a bad upside look there. Why I like Dober by money line only. Yep. We got Don Boone saying AAA Insight, Wheezy, all about the read for sure, man. I appreciate you, Don. And know what, I'm starting to like your read here on Unk on decision, actually. One of the fights where everyone expects someone to die is where everyone gets sold on inside the distance. Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. It's like sometimes just fading the market because the market's willing to overpay for things that they think are that they're seeing are going to happen in their heads. But this is a numbers game. It's not a reads game. And the numbers tell us where the value is. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We got 3 more fights to go. And then I'm going to invite my guy Sam on, and then anybody else that's in my Discord. If you want to give out your props here live on the air, turn on your camera, turn on your mic, and join me on screen for a couple of minutes. We're going to put together some probability parlays. We're going to put together a 3-leg probability parlay that comes out to somewhere around like plus 200, some juiced legs that we think are going to hit. And then we're going to come up with a take this job and shove it parlay, which is like 3+ money props that we're gonna cobble together and look to have a big hit, that we try to hit these things 2-3 times a year, and then it more than pays for itself. So we're going to be looking at that. You guys hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and please consider joining the Odds Shopper probability stats and content package so you get access to this kind of content every single week. You get access to the stats packages every single week, the prop betting model, the over-under betting model, the fighter profiles, which have excellent information on strength of schedule rankings, overall records of fighters that they've fought, the overall UFC stats in terms of average record, win percentage, and amount of UFC fights. How do fighters do in comparison to market expectations? Your Uncle Weezy has the ROI stats. We've got all of the fighters' finish data, decision data, pro experience data, UFC experience data, total of the tape, last 5 fights. When were they the biggest favorite? When were they the biggest underdog? What were the lines in those fights? The stats packages, not just every fighter's stat in every imaginable category, but compared to the divisional average, and then how much greater or lower than they are than the divisional average in percentile. And if you don't want to look at the percentile, you can just look at the colors. Look at the pretty colors. You know that Drew Dober throws a lot more volume than the divisional average because that's dark green. Michael Johnson throws a lot more volume than the divisional average because that's dark green. Like here, you might know that Michael Johnson absorbs a lot of significant strikes in clinch and ground striking situations, and he's absorbing about double the divisional average. So you got all that, and then you have even the career stats of every fighter. Do you play DraftKings DFS? Do you play FanDuel DFS? Do you make plays on Prize Picks or Underdog? All the stats are available for every fighter there. Amazing stuff. So if you want to be a part of the Probability Stats and Content Package, link is in the description of this video. You get 50% off of your first month's membership and get access to all this phenomenal content. My guy Grateful Dude is in the room. Dober by sub plus 2,500 on Hard Rock. Me and Grateful Dude are of one mind right here. I definitely agree that is a good-looking line right there. Maybe a club and sub, says the solution. Yeah, it could happen, man. That's something that I like to bet the inside the distance props, because you see those club and subs sometimes. Tim just found out that he owes $30K in taxes. What's the parlay for that? Well, Tim, I got good news for you. We're going to be coming up with a take this job and shove it parlay, and you can call it the take this tax bill and shove it parlay, where you can be like, I'm going to put $100 in this parlay, and I'm going to turn that into $30K, and then we're going to pay this tax bill and just get it out of the way. So let's go. Yeah, all right, dude. Filthy Uncle Ben say you got 28-1 for the sub for Dober on an Irish bookmaker. Let's pray. Let's get it, man. All right. Next fight is going to be Raul Rosas Jr. He is a minus 225 favorite against Rob Font, the plus 190 underdog. And what do we got for violence here? I kind of like this fight to finish inside the distance here. I think Font could potentially be submitted by Rosas, and I think that Font could knock out Rosas. So I think that there's a couple of different ways that this fight can finish, and the fight doesn't go to decision. There's a lot of money coming in on the over, and I love it. I love it. I think that this is absolutely giving a great opportunity here for a great finish bet. I'm sorry. Yeah, here. I'm going to, real quick, I'm going to just put some lines in here because it looks like these have moved. I had fight doesn't go to decision here at plus 140 earlier. Now it's plus 170. And I have the under 2.5 rounds now at plus 215. The over 2.5 minus 260. The fight goes minus 210. So look, massive trifecta bet here on the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 170. And that encapsulates a Raul Rosas submission, and it encapsulates a Rob Font KO. And I think both can happen here because you have a striker versus grappler matchup. You're going to have a situation where when this fight goes to the ground, Raul Rosas is going to be dangerous, and he's going to have the potential to finish the fight. Same thing for Rob Font. If he's stuffing the takedowns and getting back up, Raul Rosas, who's selling out for the grappling, might get tired, might start absorbing some big shots, and might get knocked out. So I'm going to just say right now, my favorite bet for this fight is the fight doesn't go to decision, because I see a striker versus grappler matchup. I see a path for both fighters, not only to finish, but to get finished, because I could see Raul Rosas getting knocked out if he doesn't get the grappling going. And Rob Font, in his only UFC loss that he was finished in, he was finished by what? Submission. It was a guillotine choke by Pedro Munoz. Now go and look after the Munoz fight. How many grapplers did, submission grapplers, I should say, did Font fight? So definitely, without question. Now, first I want to say here, we got Rosas by decision is sitting at plus 135. That is my stylistic read for this fight. But fight doesn't go to decision at plus 170. That is going to be a 1-unit tracked bet. And that is also going to be Wheezy's best bet for this fight. And like I say, that encapsulates a Raul Rosas submission. And the Raul Rosas sub prop is currently sitting at plus 360. So Rosas is plus 360. Font by knockout sitting at plus 600. And the inside the distance is plus 550. And because Rosas is going to grapple, I would rather play Font inside the distance at plus 550 than the KO at plus 600. I mean, is there any chance that Font, submits him? Probably almost none. But now that he's training at Trisar, I think that anything's possible. So I'm going to see that Rosas submission and Font inside the distance. Now, let's see where that adds up to here. So 21 and 15 makes 36, so a little over 37%, but the fight doesn't go to decision, is priced at 37. So even if we were to Dutch those two props, we would still get the same as fight doesn't go to decision. So yeah, that plus 170. The stylistic read is where is it? It's Rosas by decision at plus 135. The Font decision prop at plus 335 is not a bad look. But like I said, I could see either one of these guys getting a finish. So Font inside the distance plus 550. And then I'd also rather play the Font money line than the Raul Rosas Jr. money line here, even though I do think Raul has a good path to victory with takedowns and top time. I also think that there's a potential for submissions if he's able to get those consistently. And even if not, Font has never had great takedown defense. So interesting fight, but this is going to be the best bet. And this is the way I'm going to play this fight because it's way underpriced. According to all three metric comparisons that I do, my stylistic read is that either one of these guys can get a finish. And I love betting violence and striker versus grappler matchups where both guys finish their fights. So that's what we're going with there. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. Dober 28-1. That's a good number. The vacation parlays is Gabe Killian. Fabrant. Yeah, that's right. We got Font decision. Rosas will have opportunities to finish. Agreed. Font's G&A going to make Raul feel them hands, fellas. Yeah, that's for sure, man. In the third round, maybe. First two should be all Rosas. Yeah, I think they should, dude. I agree with that. I think it should be Rosas early, Font late. And I think Rosas is going to have a chance to finish early, and Font's going to have a chance to finish late. It's going to be a great fight. Tim, please say it ain't from betting. Yeah, hopefully not, man. Nah, I started a business, played quarterly, and revenue well over expected. Accountant didn't catch it. Yeah, man, having a good accountant is a big deal, Tim. That is for sure, man. Kyle's saying, the new laws terrify me. I owe you money for losing money. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why you just take your business offshore, man. Go to Bet Online and bet there. Great lines. They get everything out early. Very little vig in their money lines and over-unders. And I think it's a great book. Good problem to have, I guess. Yeah. Right, Wild. And yes, that's why I can gamble to try and win it. There you go, man. I'm surprised you're so confident in Rosas sub with Font game planning with coach. I'm not confident in Rosas sub, but what I am thinking is that Rob Font's very easy to take down historically. You can look here at the numbers on the stats profile. Rob Font's grappling defense here, 43.7% takedown defense, which is 32% worse than the divisional average. And he gets controlled for over 24% of his total cage time, and he only wins 25% of the control time positions in his fights, and he has been submitted before in the UFC. So I think that Rosas by decision at plus 135, I think he's a little bit more likely to win it by sub than he is by decision. So, yeah, we'll see, though. Gabe saying, Raul doesn't red Rosas. We got Sammy saying we're back. We got Buttered Pancake Zahabi. Chama saying Uncle Wheezy with the back-to-back lives. And I might even do a little Ask Wheezy and a Greasy four-leg parlay later on this week as well. We got Gabe Killian saying Rosas versus O'Malley is the match of the future. We got Filthy Uncle Ben 2645 saying 100 likes and Wheezy with the unit on Brundage. No, that is not going to happen. But what I will do is, if by the end of the day today, I think there's still 5 spots left on that probability stats and content package. If I get 5 signups at $12.50, and I'll know by the end of the day, I will put a half unit on Cody Brundage to win in round 1 to try and win 8 units at plus 1,600. How does that sound, Filthy Uncle Ben? Huh? If I get 5 signups on that link that you see in the description of the video, 5. By the end of the day today, I'm going to put a half unit on Cody Brundage to win in round 1 at plus 1,600. So that's what we're going to do. Dober gets hit too much for my liking. He's poor defensively, but he's a Muay Thai guy. They're all poor defensively. All right, co-main event of the evening, Caio Borralho versus Reinier de Ridder. Borralho around minus 250. I think that is still the line where he's at. Yep, minus 250 plus 210 for de Ridder, and the fight doesn't go to decision is priced at plus 135. Another fight where my model likes violence, but we don't have the biggest sample size here, but if we look at the over-under model, you're going to see a plus 135 for the fight doesn't go to decision. Now, it's only a 9-fight sample size of de Ridder and Borralho in 3-round fights. Because Borralho's already had a couple of 5-round fights. De Ridder's already had a couple of 5-round fights. So it's only a 9-fight sample size. But you can see here a pretty sizable fight doesn't go to decision trifecta here at plus 135 with over 48% in combined savings amongst the 3 metric comparisons. So, yeah, that's something that the model likes quite a bit. And that would cover, a de Ridder knockout, a de Ridder submission, and it would cover, a Caio Borralho knockout or submission here. So either one could happen. That's where my model sees value. This is a middleweight fight. Middleweight fights finish around 58% of the time on the long term. These guys' fights have finished 67% of the time in the short term, yet we're only paying 42% for the fight doesn't go to decision here. So regardless of what your stylistic read on the fight here is, we're showing some pretty good value in the unders. So that's what I'm going to give you guys first, as the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 135, which means that the finish props are also going to have some value according to my models. Reinier de Ridder inside the distance is plus 1,600. I mean, think about that. Plus 600. He's finished 14 of his 15 wins inside the distance. So, that's a very underpriced prop here. The KO at plus 1,150, the sub at plus 1,000. He's got knockouts and he's got great knees. So I could see a knockout happening here too. So I'm going to give you Reinier inside the distance plus 600. His decision prop is plus 410. That's seriously overpriced according to my model. So I think Reinier de Ridder money line at plus 2. Well, I think now it's plus 210, right? 210 and minus 250. So I got to change that. Reinier de Ridder plus 210. So I would say Caio Borralho by decision at plus 125 because I don't fancy Caio as a finisher. Borralho plus 125. De Ridder money line plus 210. That is going to be a 1-unit tracked bet. And it's also going to be Wheezy's best bet. De Ridder's got crazy ROI as an underdog. Caio Borralho is a minute winner who fights on fairly thin margins. And De Ridder's pressure style is going to put Caio into a dirty fight, not a technical fight. And I don't think he's going to thrive in a dirty fight. Caio is a technical fighter. He's not like a guy that has that dog in him that goes out there looking to swang and bang. And De Ridder kind of forces you to do exactly that. So, yeah, I think De Ridder is the best bet here. That's a 1-unit tracked bet. That's my best bet for the fight. Ritter inside the distance at plus 600, I think is also an interesting look just in terms of the numbers. My model absolutely loves it. I would be remiss if I didn't write that down there. Ritter inside the distance plus 600. That is a trifecta bet. Trifecta bet on the template. That's what I'm going with. What else are we seeing here in terms of value? This value bet is Bohayo in decision plus 125 for De Ritter. It's the money line or the inside the distance prop because he can hurt you with knees to the body and he can absolutely finish anyone via submission, especially if he hurts you first. So, 600 or plus 210 or plus 125. Those are my three favorite spots for this fight. And then the under fight doesn't go to decision at plus 135. I think is a pretty good look just in terms of being a good bet with the numbers that we have available to us. So that's what I'm looking at for this fight. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Chama is saying plus 1,600 is better spent on Oliveira finish in round 3. Yeah, I mean, well, it's, like I'm saying, if we get the signups, I'll put $50 on Brundage to win in round 1 at plus 16. I'll do it. Don't think I won't do it. I put $100 on fucking Jose Medina to win because we got 150 likes on Stat Diggers. How much money do I get for 150 likes on Stat Diggers? 0. And I put the money up instead. And thank Ja that I got somebody in my Odds Shopper probability stats and content package, my guy Michael, who saved my ass. And he told me, I understand that you did this for likes, but I'm going to give you 1 unit so that you don't have to take this loss on the chin, because we both knew that Medina was going to get his ass shaved, but we did it anyway. So I will do it. But this is, at least in this case, I get 5 signups on the probability stats and content package, and then I get more customers, more people to share this work with. So we will see what happens there. We got Jambi in the room saying, Uncle Weeze, what do you think about De Ritter's severe health issues? You think he's healthy again? Appreciate you. I don't know. No way to know. The one thing I do know is that, Caio is not, he's just not the kind of fighter that I think you got to worry about getting finished by. He fights at a snail's pace. He interacts very little. Like, I've got all the stats right here. You can look at distance striking numbers for Bohayo. He only attempts 7.85 distance strikes per minute. He's accurate. He's defensively responsible, but he lands below average amount of significant strikes. He only lands 0.36 knockdowns per 15 minutes. I mean, De Ritter actually has a better knockdown per 15-minute rate than Bohayo does. And, there's a big size difference between these two guys. Not as much as, like people think, but Reinier De Ritter's the bigger, more physical guy. So, I mean, we'll find out what the health looks like, but I'm not even really that worried about it. Like, he was talking about how he was going into metastatic shock in the Brendan Allen fight. He still almost 10-8'd Brendan Allen in round 1, and he still won the first half of round 2, and he took down Brendan Allen at the beginning of round 3 too. It was just that Allen got reverses in round 2 and 3 that caused him to win those rounds. But, like, Reinier De Ritter, even where he was dragging ass and talking about being in shock, still won probably 8 of the 15 minutes that fight took place. So I don't know. I just know that at plus 215, it's a very easy click for me. Bunkhoot saying on Jose, we got Buttered Pancake saying I have 25 on Cody round 1 and I have no shame on it. Catching his DQ. Yeah, man, against that first round knockout against Jacob Malkoon, man. That was pretty sweet. All right. Let's move on to the main event of the evening. And it is going to be Max Bless Holloway, who the money now is starting to come in on Oliveira. I thought I would get him at better than plus 200 when he was plus 190. Now he's plus 175. So let me change that. Charles 175, Holloway minus 205. Fight doesn't go to decision for this fight. I think is at minus 250. Minus 250. So yeah, the market is expecting this thing to finish like 72% of the time, I think. So we got Holloway at minus 205, Oliveira at plus 175. So my favorite bet for this fight is just the Charles Oliveira money line. Like I say, I think that this is a style thing. I don't think Holloway is going to get to fight the fight that he wants to fight. So Oliveira was 160, now it's 175. Max Holloway is minus 205. Holloway by KO. Really good bet according to my template here. We've got a 15 fight sample size of Max Holloway wins in 5-round fights and Charles Oliveira losses in 5-round fights. And it's showing that this should be priced around 40%, and it's priced right around 40%. The question is, do we want to go with Holloway inside the distance at plus 123 or the KO at plus 145? And, you know, I mean, like, let's look. We can find out how many submission attempts he has. SP Max Holloway has attempted 10 submissions over his UFC career, and he's only had one attempted against him, and that's since 2013, I should say. But Charles Oliveira has attempted 38 submissions, you guys, and he's had 5 attempted against him. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's probably Holloway KO, but I mean, when the difference is just that little, I think it's probably a little bit more responsible to go with Holloway inside the distance. So my stylistic read, though, because Holloway is so durable, I think Oliveira by decision is how this fight gets won. So let's find out what that line is. The Oliveira by decision is a trifecta bet at plus 1,100. So that is going to be a bet that I make this week. You know, that's my stylistic read. They're giving me plus 1,100. So that'll be a 0.25 unit tracked bet. The Oliveira money line. It's EIRA. Right? How do I spell it? OLIVEIRA. Yeah. The Oliveira money line is plus 175. I'm looking plus 190 or 200. So I'm just waiting on that right now for the Oliveira money line, but I'll be throwing a quarter unit on Oliveira by decision at plus 1,100. Oliveira by submission, I mean, like, that's something that I think is a phenomenal bet at plus 360. I'm going to write that down. Holloway ITD plus 123. And then Holloway decision at plus 300. You know, it's very rare that in a 5-round fight we get sample sizes as big as these. And, you know, Max Holloway has historically been extremely durable. So for me, Oliveira decision at plus 1,100 is a very, very easy click. I will be playing his money line just simply because I think the market's been criminally underrating this guy for a long time. And he's really only losing to elite fighters like Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, Arman Sarukian. The last guy he lost to before those guys, it was Paul Felder, and the year was 2017, you guys. So Charles Oliveira is still fighting at a very high level, and Max Holloway, now that he's moved up to 155 pounds, his physique's starting to fill in, and he's landing some knockouts and landing some knockdowns. So, you know, I think there's a couple of different ways to play this. Personally, I'm on the Oliveira side. If you're on the Holloway side, I think you got to decide, is he going to knock Oliveira out, or is he going to win the minutes and bank the rounds here? And you're going to have to choose, because it's hard to lay minus 205 on Max Holloway against somebody like Charles Oliveira, who's going to pressure him relentlessly. Because of that pressure, I think you might have to count on the power of Holloway in order to get the respect of Oliveira, because if he doesn't get the respect of Oliveira, and even if he does, I still don't think Oliveira is going to fuck off. So my side is Oliveira here. I know there's a ton of people on Holloway, and I think you can either play the decision or the inside the distance, depending on what your read is. But that is what I have for you guys for this week. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. Let's see. RDR White Flag won me some good money in his last fight. Max by sub round 3, $81. Let's go. That could be a big hit, man. Do you think Kyle can finish that goof? I mean, I suppose he might be able to, but what I worry about is, Kyle's not a finisher, but I think if he finishes RDR, it's going to be because RDR gas is out or isn't 100%. It's not going to be because Kyle is some killer who's out there finishing people. The Tasteful Thickness is in the room saying Oliveira versus via Texas testicle torsion twister. The 4 T's is some of the people call it in my BJJ gym. Yeah, that is that would be a very, very rough submission. Max deserves more respect. He KO'd the interim champion after dominating him. Yeah, he did. And he KO'd Justin only because he was exhausted. That wasn't a real KO. Yeah, and they were kind of out there just swinging dicks. But yeah, 1 second left. Phenomenal finish. But he wasn't close to finishing up until that point. So, all right, you guys. I know that we got my guy Sam, who's going to join me live to talk about some props here. So, Sam, if you're watching, if you're hanging out, come on backstage. Click that link I gave you earlier. And if anybody else from my Odd Shopper probability stats and content package wants to pop on here and talk some props, come on, click that or DM me or message me in the Discord, and I'll shoot you the invite link here on StreamYard. So this is the portion of the show where we come up with the probability parlays. And we so the probability parlay is a 3-leg parlay. And then to take this job and shove it, is another 3-leg parlay that usually is going to add up to about 50 to 1 or something like that. So we look to find 3+ EV props that are all underpriced, and if all 3 of them hit, we're going to have a big day. But for these for the probability parlay, we kind of like to find the juice spots that make sense, and we go through every fight. And where can we find like a nice minus 200 over, or a nice minus 200 fight doesn't go to decision, or something that kind of matches up with what our reads are, because a lot of what we do here is pick out the plus money props that are underpriced. But there are a lot of other ways that we can go here. So we want to find some spots in these fights that we feel like are going to hit. Is there any fights that we have really strong reads that it's going to go to decision, or a really strong read that we're going to finish inside the distance? Like, for instance, Cody Brundage versus Donte Johnson, under 1.5 rounds. That's definitely something that could hit, because Donte Johnson's minus 900 and Cody Brundage's fights finish in under 1.5 rounds pretty often. But I'm going to bring my guy here on, Sam. Sam, what is happening? Sam's one of the guys that's on my probability stats and content package. He's built his own model, and he's very active in the Discord. And we're just going to kind of chat here with the chat and with Sam, and figure out what some of these. Do you have any juice legs? You got any numbers with a minus in front of them, Sam, where you feel like the stylistic read needs a bit of value on these props?
Yeah, I have a couple.
All right, let's hear it.
And when we're talking specifically about props.
Yeah, props or even money lines. Even money lines, you guys. It doesn't matter. The point is to hit the damn thing, So if we feel like one of these juiced money lines isn't juiced enough, then we could throw that in there as well.
Alrighty. So a prop I like the most at the moment is Max Holloway over 78.5 significant strikes. That's sitting at -110.
And so it's -110. And how many significant strikes is that?
Over 78.5. He's hit that in the last 4 out of 5 fights.
All right. Over 78.5 significant strikes at -110. A guy in Max Holloway who spends 86% of his time at distance striking range. A guy in Max Holloway who is one of the highest volume strikers in the UFC. So like that is something that makes a lot of sense there. I was going to write in here Johnson, Brundage, under 1.5 rounds is -180. If we were to look at the over-under template for that one, let me see. There it is. Under 1.5 rounds. You could see that Cody Brundage's fights have finished under 7.5 minutes, 8 of 14 times. And on the regional scene, Donte Johnson, all 6 of his fights finished not only under 1.5 rounds, but in round number 1. And we could tell that this guy's got terrifying power and that both of these guys kind of swing dicks. So I think that's a pretty decent potential, parlay piece this week that's got a negative number in front of it. So anything else that you're seeing?
That's a great piece for the round 1 prop. I really dislike Brundage. I mean, he has to be probably one of the worst fighters in my roster of fighters I'll bet against.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what number you have next to your name when you're going against Brundage. I'll bet on you.
Okay.
I bet on Mansur Abdul Malik. Don't even want to know how much money I put on that. But yes, I will always fade Brundage. Especially, what was his finish prop at? I think it was like -200 for Johnson.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing like -175. -175 for the KO prop, but -325 for his finish prop.
-325.
So that's brutal, but that's probably how he wins. So I mean, that's the thing. 4 of 7 losses inside the distance for Cody Brundage. He's not known for having a ton of heart or being able to really get through adversity, other than the Julian Marquez fight. But I think Johnson's got a lot more, finish upside than Marquez does. So yeah,
most definitely. That was a retirement fight for the both of them.
Yeah,
somebody was getting cut after that fight, no matter what, and it just happened to be Marcus. I really like. I mean, yeah, it's -375, but I really don't see this going to a decision. I would throw that -375 for the Brundage. For the Johnson finish, and over 1.5 for the Dober and Johnson fight.
The Dober and Johnson fight. That's something I definitely liked. Those overs there. So let's look at that. I mean, Dober's definitely got some finish upside whenever in fights. He's a big hitter, but 16 of 26, 17 of 22 fights for Johnson. And I think a lot of those fights where he got finished under 1.5 rounds were a result of him getting submitted, So that is a trifecta bet at -195. Let's write that in there. That's something that matches up. The numbers are underpriced, and my stylistic read and yours matches up. So over 1.5 rounds, Johnson versus who? I just got, because there's 2 Johnsons now.
Where's Brundage?
Johnson versus Dober. Over 1.5 rounds.
We're both talking about the wrong fight. There's too many Johnsons.
So over 1.5 rounds, -195. I do like that quite a bit. All right. So -195. What other fights do? Let me see here. I've got Fernandez by decision, but I don't want to bet an over there in a parlay.
I would just put his money line if I was going to put him in a parlay.
Yeah. What do you think about the overs for Aguilar versus Mudaerji?
Personally, I don't like them. I'm very high on Aguilar. How many times has he cashed as a dog? I know it's plus ROI. That's for sure.
His record as an underdog is 3 wins and 2 losses, an average betting line of plus 238. And let me just show this real quick on screen. This is where we are. You can see that information right down there. 3-2 as an underdog, plus 238 average betting line, 52% ROI, 54% ROI over 6 UFC fights. Jesus Aguilar continues to outperform market expectations. But do you think Jesus Aguilar is getting a submission or a finish early in this fight?
Yeah. I mean,
really?
I can see it. I already have a bet on it.
Well, I got to tell you,
I have a bet on Aguilar finish at plus 450, and I probably put too many bets, to be honest. I have a bet on finish only at plus 150 just to get a little bit of cash back.
Well, I'm looking at this here, and my model hates the over 1.5 rounds at minus 375, which is a huge number. So that's definitely something that we'll stay away from. Durden versus Tumendemberel. That's one I don't want to touch over-unders on because I could see Durden winning by decision. I could see Tumendemberel getting a finish.
Yeah, I'm very high on Nyamjargal getting that finish, especially by sub. It just, off the tape I've seen versus how Nyam can actually get a sub, it's just present there. Brundage is very easy at getting hit. He got subbed by Nascimento because he got damage in the body. So yeah, I think Nyam throws way harder than Nascimento does. So it's there. And 2 of Nyam's last subs just came from him hurting somebody. He didn't shoot a takedown. Actually, what was it? One of his last fight, Saturn shot a takedown on him, and he reversed it and choked him out.
Okay. Let's see here.
Subs sitting at plus 400, I think.
Even though my stylistic read is Oliveira by decision, what do you think about fight doesn't go to decision for the main event?
I like it. My model does. I don't personally because I don't have a bet on it. But my model likes it a lot. My model thinks that Holloway has a high chance of getting a finish just based off of past and also off of Oliveira's recent track record with the chin falling off. It seems like he's revisiting his old days of his chin falling off. And I could see a round 3 or 4 finish for Holloway. But I have a bet on over 2.5.
Okay. Well, what do you think about this then, Sam? We got Donte Johnson inside the distance at minus 325. We've got Michael Johnson, Drew Dober over 1.5 rounds at minus 195. Would you rather play Johnson inside the distance at minus 325 or the Johnson Brundage under 1.5 at minus 180?
I'd rather take the chalky line for Donte Johnson in the distance.
Donte Johnson inside the distance. Okay. So if we were to do the over for Johnson Dober and Donte Johnson inside the distance, what do you think about Nyamjargal finish only prop?
I love it.
Because, I don't think he gets finished here. And then we could add that as a third leg, which might void. It might not void, but if it cashes, it adds a little bit of extra juice.
Yeah. So that, what is that? Is that a plus number?
No, it is minus 160.
Okay, that's not bad. That's really not bad.
I think it's like, let me look here. If we were to share the Bet Rivers screen here, and we could do, let's see, Donte Johnson to win by finish. Oh my God, it's minus 385.
Oh God.
Dude, that's brutal. Let me look at the under 1.5 here is minus 200.
Let me see if I can find some more chalk.
Yeah, that minus 385 is disgusting.
Yeah, that's gross. That's too gross.
God.
Round 1 and 2 is minus 250.
Yeah. Yeah, like who's finishing Brundage in round 3? Like if you haven't finished them by then, chances are you're just going to coast the decision. So, Yeah, all right, let's try that. So round props here. We're going to go Donte Johnson to win in rounds 1 or 2 is minus 250. Over 1.5 rounds for Michael Johnson versus Drew Dober. Is minus 186. That's not bad at all. That 2-leg parlay brings us up to plus 116. And then we're going to go with Nyamjargal, Tumendemberel, finish only. And that is minus 180. That brings us up to plus 236 for this 3-leg probability parlay. You like this one, Sam?
Yeah,
all right,
nice.
let's do that. Let's do that. So it's going to be Donte Johnson, rounds 1 or 2, minus 250. Johnson Dober over 1.5 rounds was minus 186. And then the Tumendemberel finish only is minus 180. Comes out to plus 236 on BetRivers Sportsbook.
Dick's Insider's comment is hilarious. I couldn't help but laugh.
Weezy, I bet you $50 Sam has a Schnauzer dog that has a mustache. He's got a great mustache. Dude, I wish mine was that thick and filled in, dude. Like, I've got a pretty good handlebar, but it ain't that thick, dude. I wish mine was better. So let's see here. Let's see what's going on. The comments are killing me. Jack was betting back Jack Dempsey. Young Paul Felder. And Sam looks like a guy who just got off the Titanic just in time in 1912. You know, my grandmother had a ticket on the Titanic. She lived in Denmark. She was born in 2000 or 1908. And when they moved from Denmark to the United States, actually had a ticket on the Titanic. There was some election stuff that my great-grandfather was in an election where there was a recount. So he decided that if he won the recount, he would stay in Denmark. And if he didn't, he would get on the Titanic and go to the New World, right? Well, the election was close enough, but he lost. So, but because of the recount, they got saved and they had to sell their tickets on the Titanic. So, yeah, just a little bit of story time with their Uncle Wheezy.
So that's the only time you win off a loss.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And they won off a loss, and then as a result, I'm here, which that's all a good thing for all of us. Sam pitched for the Red Sox back in the day. He stuck out Ruth and Gehrig back to back with the handlebar mustache. Come out for a drink later, Sam. You could take your penny fathing. Let's see here. We got all right, you guys. Now it's going to be time for the Take This Job and Shove It parlay. And this is where we're going to put together like some plus 300s, some plus 400s to kind of try to find some decent spots. So I'm going to go through every fight here and just pick some things that are plus money that I think are interesting. And they're going to be some of my best bets, right? Fernandez by decision plus 540. Lee by submission plus 400. Let's start there. Fernandez decision plus 540. Lee sub plus 400. Let me see what else I can find here.
I really like the Fernandez decision.
Yeah, Montes.
If he doesn't get a finish within the first round and a half, blockhead Bellato will just slop his way to the decision.
Yeah, and blockhead Bellato, like he eats punches with his face, but he's not really getting knocked out. I mean, everyone says that he doesn't have heart because of the Craig fight, but even if he faked that, it was a veteran move to try to get the DQ win because he got kicked in the fucking face when he was down. And sometimes people will take that shot. They're like, you know what? I'm fucking selling out now. I'm pretending like I can't go anymore. If they call it a no contest, it's a no contest. But if I get the DQ, I get a fucking win check and the show check. And I didn't even have to try. So like he took that shot. It didn't work out for him. But I don't necessarily think that it means that he's not durable. You know, watch the Crute fight. Watch the Paterier fight. Even the Navajo Sterling fight. You know, like he was in some bad spots there. Montes sub is something that I'm going to put in the mix here. Johnson by decision is something. Michael Johnson by decision.
I also like that as well.
Yeah, so let's say
I have a play on Dober and Johnson fight goes the distance at plus 180.
Montes sub plus 285. Oh, I already wrote that. Damn it. And then we're going to write Michael Johnson. Decision was like plus 290 or something. Plus 290. And then what else? Rosas decision. I don't mind like even like a fight doesn't go for the Font fight, which is going to be plus 170. Decision Font / Rosas. That's plus 170. What do you got, Sam? What are you seeing in the plus money props that you think will be a good parlay piece this week?
Nyam finish, which we already have in our probability parlay.
Yes.
But I just have straight finish, not the finish only. I really like Dober and Johnson fight goes the distance, which I mentioned at plus 180.
Yep.
I have Holloway to win over 2.5, which is plus 110.
Okay, Holloway. Oh, yeah. He might get an early KO, though, but Holloway and over 1.5 rounds. That was plus 110?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then the rest is a lot of long shots. I like Aguilar finish, which is plus 450.
Plus 450 for Aguilar ITD. Okay.
And I also think the RoboCop and Ferreira fight's going to play out similar. And I like him by finish at plus 250 because KO is only plus 275.
And that's for RoboCop KO or RoboCop inside the distance?
Brunno Ferreira at plus 250.
Plus 250. And you said you also like Michael Johnson by decision, Montes sub, and Fernandez decision?
I like all of those.
You like all of them? I really like these top four. I like the Font Rosas fight doesn't go to decision, but I'm tracking that bet. I'm going to be tracking a lot of this stuff as well. Johnson Dober fight goes. I don't mind that at all. This is a little bit thin. Aguilar to finish. Mudaerji, who's been finished a number of times. Brunno Ferreira inside the distance. Let's see.
I also have a 1-800 gambler bet, but, you know, it might be worth the play. Dober and Johnson draw plus 6,000.
Ooh.
I have a quarter unit on that. If that hits, I don't care if the rest loses.
Man, that would be something else. We did even see a point deduction in the last Drew Dober fight, so that's not bad at all, man. But here's what I'm looking at. Here's two spots that I think I want in there right off the jump. Montes sub. This guy's like 67% implied to win, but he's not a great minute winner. So I think Montes sub, Michael Johnson decision, or we could just go with Johnson Dober fight doesn't go, or fight goes, I'm sorry, at plus 180. So let's look at that first. So Montes by sub. It's plus 285. Okay. Fight goes to decision for Drew Dober versus Johnson. Yes is plus 160. Let's see if it's much different anywhere else.
I have plus 160 on Hard Rock at the moment.
Plus 160, and it's plus 160 on Bet Online, so that's a good price. That brings the two-leg parlay up to only plus 900. So we're going to need something in the plus 400 range. Like if we were to throw like Jeong-Yeong Lee by submission, because Gaston Bolanos has a stench ground game. That's plus 380. That would get us up to plus 4705. If we wanted to maybe throw Fernandez by decision in there.
I would rather throw that prop. I honestly think the Lee versus Bolanos fight stinks.
I agree with you 100% on that. We got Fernandez decision sitting at that moved.
It moved.
We got too many guys. See, like the thing is, this show that I'm doing right now normally is being watched by like 7 or 8 people live, and then the rest of the Odd Shopper subs watch it late. But now I'm giving this out to 215 live viewers right now. So that's kind of crazy. We got 132 on X. We got 81 on YouTube right now. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe. Think about joining the Patreon, or think about joining the Odd Shopper. So if we take Jeong-Yeong Lee by sub out and put Fernandez by decision in at plus 480, we're getting plus 57.06. Is that one okay with you, dude?
That's great.
Because I like this a lot, dude. That way, because I think Dober can win the decision too. But like I do see that fight going, and that's where the value I'm showing the value. So we're gonna do fight goes to decision, Montes sub. So we're gonna start with Luke Fernandez by decision plus 480. The next leg is gonna be Montes sub plus 285, and then we got Johnson Dober fight goes to decision at plus 160. And that comes, all right. Last one is the Johnson Dober fight goes to decision plus 160. That comes out too. What does it come out to? Plus 57.06.
Yeah, you have a better number than me.
Plus 57.06 on Bet Rivers Sportsbook. All right. We did it, you guys. We got 217 live viewers in here. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Sorry, Sam. if you want to join the Odd Shopper, be with guys like Sam and the rest of the great folks that we have in the Discord, you can click on the link in the description of this video. We're going to be doing probability like this every week. I'll be inviting members on to talk props with me after the show is over, to come up with some really nice probability parlay and take this job and shove it parlays together. And all the necessary information, the stats product, the betting models, the Discord, the track bets, the subscriber only content, the fight write-ups. It's great having all that information at your fingertips. And Sam can tell you that it's a lot of information every week, and it's a great value.
It's definitely a great value. It's helped me stack a lot of units in my bankroll, that's for sure. It's more of a casual bettor before I joined in about a year and a half, kind of just betting off a bias. But, taking away that bias and putting statistics behind it kind of gives you more of an edge against the bookies, so you know who to actually bet on and what's considered a good bet.
Absolutely.
A lot of money in my bank account, so appreciate you, Uncle Weezy.
Appreciate you, Sam. Thanks for popping on with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Like I said, hit that thumbs up on your way out. Hit that subscribe on your way out. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what some of your favorite props are. Let's stack cash tickets like flapjacks for UFC 326. God bless each and every one of you guys. And I will be back either tonight or tomorrow to do a greasy 4-leg parlay for you guys and do a little bit of Ask Weezy. If you have any questions about how any of these models work, where the stats are, any of that stuff, you can hit me up on that live stream. So keep an eye out for your notifications. Have a great rest of your day, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. Take it easy.